Chapter 121. Just do it. Hinata stepped forward and pulled Tsunade's arm. Looking at Tsunade with sparkling eyes, she said pitifully, "Big sister, please come back to Shinobu with us. I'm often bullied in Shinobu. If you don't come back with us, I'll definitely be beaten to death." You know what? When I was studying in the ninja academy, I was bullied by a bad boy surnamed Uchiha for 6 years. Every time in the taijutsu class, he wanted to fight with me. And after graduation, my teacher in charge didn't treat me well at all. He didn't even teach me a single ninjutsu, and he even wanted to hit on me. He's a perverted uncle. Jiraiya saw with his own eyes and heard with his own ears how Hinata inverted right and wrong, and how she accused Sasuke and Kakashi in front of the 5th Naruto. Jiraiya once heard Naruto talk about their team situation. At this moment, he really wanted to prove Kakashi's innocence. Hinata bit her lower lip, shaking Tsunade's arm like a spoiled child, but secretly looking at Jiraiya with cold and gloomy eyes. Her right hand also reached into the ninja bag. As long as Jiraiya dares to say a word, Hinata will dare to give the book, Jiraiya's Evidence, to Tsunade. Jiraiya whistled as if nothing happened, as if everything had nothing to do with him. Tsunade is not a person who likes to be pestered by others, but when he saw Hinata's pitiful and cute expression, he couldn't say anything fierce. What a poor child. Okay. Let go of me first. When we return to Shinobu, I'll help you. Hinata smiled and let go of Tsunade, at the same time, made a V gesture to Jiraiya. Cuteness release successful. Jiraiya said happily, "Tsunade, you promised to go back to the village with me to inherit the position of the 5th Naruto?" Tsunade snorted and said proudly, "I just want to go back and have a look. I didn't promise you anything." In fact, Tsunade just wanted to find a way out. After all, she refused so firmly before. If she suddenly went back on her word, Tsunade would be a princess. Tsunade more than once to peek at Naruto's practice. When she saw a Naruto who was doing his best to practice, struggling, and having Naruto as his dream, Tsunade felt as if the softest part of her heart was touched. Every time Naruto cultivated until he was exhausted and fell down, he would quickly get up. Even if his whole body was trembling, as long as he had a little strength, Naruto would continue to practice. Becoming Naruto is my dream. Every time she recalled Naruto's expression when he said this sentence, Tsunade saw the shadow of broken ropes and trees. It's just that Tsunade didn't know that the reason why Naruto could get tired again and again and get up again and again was not because he was stronger than others, but because he had cheats. What? Grandma Tsunade promised to go back to the village with us? She wants to be the 5th Naruto. Naruto trained for a whole day and returned to the hotel tired and miserable, but he heard a piece of news that made him despair. If Grandma Tsunade becomes Naruto, then what should I do? No. I absolutely won't agree. Naruto's tone was very firm. Hinata suddenly glanced at Naruto. No wonder you were a genin during Tsunade's reign. After offending Naruto-sama, you still want to be a genin? When there's tiring and dirty work, when you have to risk your life, you will only be thought of. Anyway, when the wind chakra started, as long as there was a difficult task, Tsunade would always think of Naruto first. Naruto is a genin, who knows how many S-level missions he has performed. But according to the ninja rules, genins can only perform D-level and C-level missions. Sure enough, Tsunade is the most two-faced woman. No. It should be said that every Naruto is evil. Think about the cause of Hey-8 Gecko's death. Think about Naruto, who has been a genin all his life, but has to risk his life. TSK, TSK, TSK. Hinata rushed over and hugged Tsunade with a big bear hug, looked at Naruto triumphantly, and snorted, "Naruto, this is the decision of the village's high level. What qualifications do you have to deny Naruto's position?" Naruto was dissatisfied. "Aren't you also a genin?" Hinata proudly said, "When I return to the village, I will be a genin." Huh? Naruto was stunned and puzzled. Why can you become a genin? Hinata stuck out his tongue and said, "That's because I defeated you in the Chunin exam. And you offended Naruto-sama, but I recognized Naruto-sama as my big sister. That's why I became a genin." Okay. Hinata. Tsunade was a little embarrassed and uncomfortable by Hinata's hug. She struggled and said helplessly, "Let go of me first, I can't breathe." Hinata blushed and let go of her hand, and then raised her eyebrows at Jiraiya. "I dare to hug Tsunade openly, do you dare?" Jiraiya pretended that he didn't see it. His chest was still aching. In short, although the trip to find Tsunade was a little bumpy, the final outcome was satisfactory. Although Tsunade only said that she would go back to the village to take a look, but after returning to the village, can she still leave? After resting for another night in the short book street, early the next morning, Hinata's group of 5 embarked on the journey back to Shinobu. Compared to their dilly-dallying when they came out, they were much more swift and decisive when they returned. Tsunade's temperament is always in a hurry. She has been wandering outside for so long, and she has no interest in sightseeing. After just an hour of walking, Tsunade decided to hurry back to the village as soon as possible. However, before arriving at Shinobu, Tsunade was a little hesitant. In the town where she met Itachi and Ghost Mackerel, Hinata, Naruto, and Jinin stayed in the hotel room to play cards. Jiraiya and Tsunade went out alone, as if they had something to say. In the izakaya, Jiraiya and Tsunade were a little tipsy. Jiraiya's expression was serious, and he said, "This time, you have a lot of things to do in Shinobu. First, the negotiations with the Sand Village, and then the task of dealing with the village's pressure, the shinobi world. I'm afraid it won't be peaceful. The organization Orochimaru joined is very dangerous." But, speaking of this, Jiraiya's expression was relaxed, but his tone was extremely serious. "I will help you." Jiraiya doesn't say anything like a pledge of love, but often it's just a casual sentence, but he will bet his life for it. This is Jiraiya's lifelong promise. If it was in the past, Tsunade would definitely laugh at Jiraiya for overestimating himself, and think this old lady needs your help. But this time, she didn't. She knew that Jiraiya was serious. She was a little touched, and there was a trace of warmth in her heart. Tsunade poured a glass of wine for Jiraiya and said with a somewhat unconfident tone, "My illness. You know it." Jiraiya chuckled, "Maybe it will be better if you become Naruto." Tsunade's heart disease is incurable, but Shinobu himself may be the best medicine. Shinobu's younger generation has produced many excellent ninjas. Chapter 122. As soon as she returned to Shinobu, Tsunade went straight to Naruto Tower. Jiraiya asked the Chunin who was guarding the door to inform the 2 Naruto advisors, while he took Hinata, Naruto, and Jinin to follow Tsunade. Tsunade looked around all the way, feeling curious about everything she saw. During the years of wandering in the Shinobu world, Tsunade has been to many places, but even the most prosperous cities she has been to are far less than the sense of belonging brought by Shinobu. Hinata bought several famous snacks of Shinobu and ran to Tsunade's side and said, "Big sis, and Sister Jinin, you haven't eaten Shinobu's food for a long time. Here. Try it quickly." Originally, Jiraiya and Naruto were a little curious about why Hinata, who was so calculative all the way, was so generous today. Is it the end of the shinobi world? But when they saw that Hinata only seemed to be holding 3 portions of food in her hand, the 2 could only curse in their hearts, "Flatterer." Tsunade didn't realize it and instinctively ignored the existence of Jiraiya and Naruto. Jinin was shy, and looked at Jiraiya and Naruto awkwardly, blushed, and whispered, "Thank you, Hinata." Hinata looked like a nouveau riche, and said proudly, "You don't have to be so polite with me, Sister Jinin." "Hey!" Hinata glanced at the embarrassed Jiraiya and Naruto and reluctantly handed over 2 portions of food. "Let's eat together. Don't say I didn't think of you. I, Otsutsuki Hinata, am so good at being a person." Hinata looked at Tsunade and Jinin while eating the snacks, and seemingly inadvertently invited, "Big sis, Sister Jinin, let's have dinner together tonight. It's my treat." Jinin looked at Tsunade with some hesitation, but Tsunade said without hesitation, "Then it's settled." Hinata smiled at Tsunade and said happily, "I like Big Sis's heroic spirit, you're simply a heroine." While speaking, Hinata secretly made a gesture to Jiraiya, asking, "Are you treating?" Jiraiya's face was dark, gritted his teeth and nodded. Hinata secretly stuck out her tongue, and then enthusiastically invited, "Lecherous immortal, come with us." Jiraiya gritted his teeth and said, "I really have to thank you. Damn it. You treat, I pay, and in the end, I can only go if you invite me? I should have let you be beaten to death by that bastard Orochimaru. That way, Shinobu would have one less scourge." When they arrived at Naruto Tower, Shinobu's 2 consultants had already arrived. Tsunade didn't greet them and went straight to the rooftop of Naruto Tower. Walking to the railing, Tsunade held the railing with one hand and looked down at Shinobu's panoramic view and said with some emotion, "Shinobu has changed a lot." After a moment of silence, Tsunade suddenly smiled and made a domineering declaration, "From now on, I am the ruler of this village, the 5th Naruto." Hinata praised in her heart. "That's right. From the 5th Hokage to the 7th Hokage, the whole of Konoha is my world. But for now, I still have to firmly hold on to Tsunade's thigh." After all, Danzo was still active, and there were many things that needed to be done by Tsunade. "Congratulations, big sister, you have to take care of me in the future." Tsunade turned around, glanced at everyone, and said meaningfully, "After all, I just returned to the village and am not familiar with many things. Being a Naruto requires support." On the way back to the village, Jiraiya and Tsunade talked a lot about Shinobu. Tsunade knew Shinobu well. Over the years, Shinobu has been a bit of a mess and needs to be cleaned up. Zhuan Xiaochun felt a bit uncomfortable under Tsunade's gaze and snorted, "Okay, you're almost a Naruto, why are you still arguing with a little girl? What does it have to do with me?" Before Tsunade could say anything, Hinata said with a wronged face, "Grandma, I just congratulated you, why are you scolding me? I didn't do anything wrong. Mo is justice." This time, even Mito Monitis looked at Zhuan Xiaochun with a bit of blame. "You can't change the topic like this." Zhuan Xiaochun's face was dark. Tsunade's words were obviously saying that the advisors and elders have been dominating Naruto for a long time, taking advantage of their seniority to influence some of Naruto's decisions. So Zhuan Xiaochun naturally led the topic to Hinata. "Hinata is just a genin, how can she speak here?" But Hinata spoke and pretended to be pitiful to gain sympathy. "Hateful. Ahem." Zhuan Xiaochun coughed and said lightly, "I'm not talking about you." Hinata pouted and said, "But other than me, are there any other little girls here?" Tsunade's gaze was a bit unnatural. Mito Monitis quickly interrupted and looked at Jiraiya and said, "I didn't expect you to be able to invite her." Jiraiya said narcissistically, "This is nothing. How can she refuse a handsome guy like me?" Ha 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 ha, Mito Monitis and Zhuan Xiaochun. Why do they feel that letting Tsunade become Naruto might not be a good thing? Hinata looked at the 2 Naruto advisors. "These 2 are really annoying, always targeting me. It's time for my big sister to make a move." Hinata's eyes curved and a gentle smile appeared on her face. As Tsunade's little sister, she invited them, "Grandpa, Grandma. Big sister just came back to the village today. I'll treat everyone tonight. We all want to get together, you guys should come too." "Ahem." Zhuan Xiaochun said, "We won't be going." Hinata looked at Tsunade and said with tears in her eyes, "Big sister, you just came back to Shinobu and you're already being ostracized by the people in the village." Mito Monitis said awkwardly, "We're already old, we won't join in the fun of you young people." Zhuan Xiaochun looked at Mito Monitis with murderous eyes. "Old man, who are you calling old? I'm telling you, we're not done yet." Mito Monitis raised his eyebrows at Zhuan Xiaochun. "Watch me, watch me." Speaking of which, although there was no Naruto in the village for the time being, the results of the joint Chunin exam have been released. "Hinata, congratulations. You are now officially a Chunin of Shinobu." Hinata said happily, "Great. Now, he can finally answer to the Hyuga family." Otherwise, if the news that the heir of the Hyuga family failed to take the Chunin exam spread, the reputation of the Hyuga family will also be damaged. Although Hinata doesn't value this reputation, Hyogo values it very much. Hinata took Tsunade's hand and said coquettishly, "Wani-san, you see, I'm now a Chunin, then, my Jonin position." "Okay." Tsunade said helplessly, I still have some business to deal with. When I'm done, I'll help you teach your Jonin a lesson. Kakashi Hatake, right? When I left the village, he was still an excellent boy. How did he become like this now? Jiraiya, Kakashi only became so bad because of Hinata's words. Jiraiya smiled and persuaded, Tsunade, forget it. You'll beat Kakashi to death. Tsunade chuckled and said disdainfully, don't worry. Even if he is seriously injured, I will heal him. Chapter 123. Following a Chunin to the ninja registration room, Hinata completed the registration procedures as a Chunin and also received a Chunin vest. It's so ugly, Hinata said with a face full of disgust. Can I not wear it? The Chunin in charge of the registration paperwork said, although you can, but... No buts. Hinata firmly said, I don't want to wear such ugly clothes. Hinata has already thought about it. He will grow long hair in the future, and then wear the same robe as Kagaya Otsutsuki. No. I'm Hinata, how can I cosplay as someone else? That's too unstylish. I'm the true successor of Kagaya Otsutsuki. When the Shinobi World War IV starts in the future, after Kagaya reincarnates, Hinata wants to try to recognize Kagaya as a relative. After all, he has decided to clear the level with his face. He must make good use of this relationship. Anyway, Kagaya Otsutsuki is already very strong, and there is no need to take back all the chakra. Her enemies are nothing more than those people from the Otsutsuki clan. At that time, if he joins forces with Naruto, Sasuke, and Kagaya Otsutsuki, they may not be the opponents of those people from the Otsutsuki clan. Of course, if Kagaya Otsutsuki doesn't listen to his advice, he can try to seal her. As for Hinata's current outfit, although it's a bit old-fashioned, Hinata also has his own purpose. Because at that time, he had already decided to join Kakashi's Team 7. Hinata's outfit is Noera Rin's. Except for the difference between the stockings and the skirt, the rest is actually not much different. After all, it's not exactly the same. So when Kakashi visited the Hyuga residence and saw Hinata for the first time, he was very impulsive. Although Hinata's original intention was to please his boss, this pleasing absolutely did not include being taken advantage of by his boss. After all, Tsunade had promised to avenge Hinata. Hinata wasn't a narrow-minded person. The grudge between him and Kakashi should end here. Hinata, you're back? Hearing the familiar voices, Hinata turned around and said enthusiastically, It's Uncle Lujio and Shikamaru. Long time no see. Shikamaru, have you also been promoted to Chunin? Shikamaru said weakly, Yes. It feels so troublesome. Shiisa Nara called out, Hinata, please take care of our Shikamaru from now on. Hinata patted his chest and promised, Don't worry. Uncle Lujio. Shikamaru and I are in the same period, and we are colleagues, we should take care of each other. Shiisa Nara helped Shikamaru with the formalities. Shikamaru leaned over and asked in a low voice, Hinata, I just saw Naruto and the others, that woman. Is she really the 5th generation Naruto? Hinata glanced at Shikamaru and snorted, What? That's my big sister, do you have a problem with that? Shikamaru waved his hand again and shook his head. I don't dare. I don't dare. I think it's best to let her be the Naruto. Shiisa Nara heard the movement behind him and shook his head helplessly. Shikamaru, this child, is also afraid of women. It's really worrying, what will happen when he gets married in the future? After going through the formalities, Shiisa Nara waved his hand and said to Shikamaru, You haven't done your thing yet, right? I'll go back first if I'm late. Your mother will scold me again. Shikamaru curled his lips and felt a little helpless in his heart. It seems that Shinobu will enter the era of women's rights in the future. Hinata, our team is going to celebrate my promotion to Chunin, your team isn't ready yet. Do you want to come? Hinata looked at the time. It's only 11 o'clock, and the dinner party with Tsunade and the others is in the evening. It's lunchtime now, so he nodded and said, Okay. Thank you for your invitation. Shikamaru said, Then let's go. Wait a minute. Hinata turned to look at the Chunin who was responsible for the registration and asked, "By the way, is this ninja vest given to me?" The Chunin nodded, "Yes. But if you don't want it," Hinata said with a smile, "Yes, if I don't want it, I can sell it to the village. Here. This is for you, take the money." Chunin. Shikamaru couldn't help but put his hand on his forehead. Where am I? Who am I? What am I going to do? Did I just act like I'm familiar with Hinata? You're wrong, I'm not familiar with her at all. On the way to the barbecue shop, Hinata carefully counted the money of selling the Chunin vest, a total of 1,800 silver. This is not an ordinary vest. Wearing this vest, not only can you move easily, but the defense is also good, and you can put a lot of ninja tools, but it doesn't look bloated. It's simply the best equipment for traveling and killing. It's just that the appearance is a little bad. Along the way, Shikamaru didn't say a word to Hinata, and Hinata was also immersed in the joy of earning money without doing tasks. We're here. Walking into the barbecue shop, Asuma saw Hinata beside Shikamaru, and his whole face turned green. I didn't offend Shikamaru, right? Why did he bring Hinata? One Choji is enough, and now there's Hinata, who even Choji has to admit defeat. Asuma, Sensei, long time no see. And Ino, Choji, how are you? Hinata greeted them as if they were familiar, and then sat beside Ino, waiting for the barbecue to be served. Ino looked at Shikamaru and teased with a smile, "You, who always can't get motivated, now you look quite like it." Shikamaru's face turned red, and said angrily, "Have you laughed enough?" This time, Hinata has also been promoted to Chunin. Ino looked at Hinata and asked curiously, "Hinata, why aren't you wearing a ninja vest?" Hinata curled his lips and said, "It's too ugly." Asuma smiled and said, "Although the ninja vest isn't very good looking, it's still very practical." Hinata sneered and said, "Asuma, Sensei, if you want to talk about practicality, then Akai, Sensei's tights are more practical. It's comfortable, breathable, and convenient to move around. Why don't I see you wearing tights? If you dare to wear tights, Kurenai, Sensei will probably break up with you immediately." Asuma, Ino supported him and said, "Hinata is right. If I become a Chunin, I don't want to wear such an ugly vest." When the barbecue was served, Asuma picked up the tongs and placed the pork belly on the barbecue rack. Then, he picked up the juice and said, "Come, let's toast to Shikamaru and Hinata being able to become Chunin." Choji hurriedly said, "Then I won't be polite." Asuma said helplessly, "Choji, wait until we finish drinking." Hinata looked at the lively atmosphere of Class 10 with some envy and said sadly, "Alas, Ino, I really envy your Class 10. Your relationship is so good. Unlike our Class 7, it's so difficult to get Kakashi-sensei to treat us to a meal." Shikamaru complained in his heart, "It's only because Asuma often treats us that you think our Class 10 is good." Kakashi's house. Achoo! Kakashi, who was sitting on the windowsill watching Intimate Paradise, suddenly sneezed and unconsciously scratched his head. What's going on? Why do I have an ominous feeling? Chapter 124. Ah, what a pleasant afternoon. After eating the barbecue, Hinata and Ino strolled on the streets of Shinobu. Ino curiously asked, "Hinata, who is the new 5th generation Naruto?" Hinata was stunned. "You haven't even heard of the Sannin, Tsunade Haim?" "No." Ino said, "Of course I have heard of the Sannin, but what kind of person is Tsunade-sama?" Hinata laughed. "Don't worry, Tsunade-sama is a very good person, much better than the 3 generations." "That's right." Hinata asked, "What have you been doing while I was away from the village?" Ino explained, "Our Squad 10 and Squad 8 have been doing missions, but they are all D-level missions. When we have nothing to do, we will train together. After the last incident, everyone has matured a lot, and they are working harder than before. Even Shikamaru, a lazy person, has been secretly working hard recently." In the end, Ino covered her mouth and chuckled. Although she hated to form a team with a lazy person and a fatty at first, after getting along with them for so long, Ino has become the most reliable partner with them. Although Shikamaru is lazy, and Choji is somewhat weak, they are very reliable at critical moments. Hinata asked, "What about Sasuke?" Speaking of Sasuke, Ino suddenly fell silent, and after a long time, she said, "Sasuke should be training with Kakashi-sensei recently." Hinata nodded, and no longer mentioned Sasuke, and continued to stroll with Ino. Sasuke's current state of mind should be very complicated. On the one hand, he was reluctant to give up the bond he had just established, and he was reluctant to give up Squad 7, and on the other hand, he wanted to pursue strength, and he wanted to join Orochimaru. At this time, Orochimaru was not the reptile in Sasuke's mouth, but the big boss of the ninja world who had just killed the 4th Kazekage and the 3 generations Naruto. In the limelight, no one in this period was more popular than Orochimaru. Even Jiraiya and Tsunade, the 2 outdated Sannin, began to be mentioned. In fact, Kakashi wanted to train Sasuke as his successor. Sasuke has the purest Uchiha bloodline, and the lightning chakra transformation. He is suitable to inherit Kakashi's lightning ninjutsu. Kakashi's lightning ninjutsu. But Sasuke was also very clear in his heart that Kakashi was much worse than Orochimaru. Even if Sasuke learned all of Kakashi's ninjutsu, he was far from Itachi Uchiha's opponent. Although in Squad 7, there was a super strong person who could defeat Itachi Uchiha, Hinata. But Sasuke also knew Hinata's situation. He was a person who could lie down and become strong. Every day, he would practice like playing, but his strength has been improving. Instead of asking Hinata for advice, it was better to practice on his own. According to Hinata's guess, soon, Sasuke would probably make up his mind to join Orochimaru. After all, Jiraiya had decided to accept Naruto as his disciple. Jiraiya was one of the Sannin, the same name as Orochimaru. Although Sasuke's goal was to find Itachi for revenge, he also didn't want to lose to Naruto. Once the news of Jiraiya accepting Naruto as his disciple reached Sasuke's ears, Sasuke's only hope was to join Orochimaru. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Hinata said goodbye to Ino and returned to the Hyuga family. "Hinata-sama, you are back. Hayashi-sama is waiting for you." As soon as he entered the door, Hinata Takuma immediately appeared. "I know." It was still the same study, but this time, in addition to Hyogo, even the great elder of the Hyuga family was present. Hinata respectfully saluted, "Father-sama, great elder." "And have a seat." After Hinata sat down, the great elder first asked, "Hinata, this time when you went to welcome the 5th Naruto, what did you gain?" Hinata said with a serious face, "Tsunade-sama and I have a good relationship. This time, I also helped to welcome Tsunade-sama back to the village." Hyogo nodded slightly to the great elder. Although Hinata was usually unreliable, Hinata's diplomatic skills were at the highest level. If Hinata said so, it means that their relationship is very good. Hinata continued, "Tonight, I invited Tsunade-sama and Jiraiya-sama to dinner, and they have agreed." Hyogo said with satisfaction, "Hinata, you have done very well, you are worthy of being my daughter." The great elder looked at Hyogo and said lightly, "Hayashi, it is time for us to make a choice." Hyogo closed his eyes, and after a moment of silence, he opened his eyes and said lightly, "It is the same as before." Seeing Hinata's curiosity, the great elder explained, "Our Hyuga family is the strongest ninja family in Shinobu, and we are innately standing together with all the other ninja clans." "No," Hinata interrupted, "it is the strongest ninja family in the entire ninja world." Hearing this, the great elder said with a smile, "Not bad, very ambitious. This is the attitude that the successor of the Hyuga family should have. Hayashi, you are far worse than Hinata." Hyogo's face was embarrassed, and his status in the family decreased again. The great elder continued, "Although all the ninja clans have common interests, everyone is now integrated into the village of Shinobu. There is no way for a single ninja clan to survive in the ninja world. To the outside world, we are each other's most reliable companions. But in the absence of external enemies, the internal competition will never stop." Hinata nodded, and he agreed with this point. For example, the Nara family has been running a medicine business, and all the medicine in Shinobu is provided by them. Even the medicine market in the Land of Fire, the Nara family has a large share. This is the benefit that Hashirama promised to the various ninja clans when he established Shinobu. Hashirama is a fool, and a stubborn fool. In order to eliminate the internal strife in the Land of Fire, he attracted the major ninja clans to establish a village, and he gave up a lot of benefits. Even if Tobarama desperately tried to persuade him, he couldn't pull Hashirama back to reality. The Hyuga family naturally has their own interests in Shinobu. However, on this basis, how to allocate the manpower in the various departments of Shinobu has become the focus of the various forces. However, the Great Elder didn't want to talk about this matter today. In Shinobu, there are actually 3 major factions. One belongs to the Naruto faction, one belongs to the Ninja Clan, and the last one belongs to the roots of Shimura Danzo. Of course, on the surface, everyone belongs to the Naruto faction. Unlike Uchiha, our Hyuga family has always been a firm supporter of Naruto. Hinata has already expected this, and Hyogo also revealed some information before. The Great Elder continued to explain, although even if we don't get close to the Naruto faction, Shinobu won't give up the power of the Hyuga family. However, when you are very strong but not strong enough, then you only have 2 choices left. Either you stay together for warmth, or you join the strongest. Speaking of this, the Great Elder also said with some emotion, although I am very reluctant, this is the only way for the Hyuga family to survive at present. Because the other clans also think this way. Chapter 125. In the Warring States period, and even at the beginning of the establishment of the ninja village, the ninja profession was controlled by the ninja clan. It wasn't until the second Naruto established the ninja academy that this monopoly was broken, and a large number of excellent ninjas began to emerge from the civilian population. During the reign of the 3 generations Naruto, the ninja academy was developed to its peak. The rise of the civilian ninjas meant that the ninja clan's power in the village was reduced. But from another point of view, the rise of the civilian ninjas also means that the Shinobu clan has a large number of cannon fodder to use. The Hyuga family has seen this for a long time. Because the system of the Hyuga family is that the branch family protects the main family, so will the rise of the civilian ninjas also protect the entire Hyuga clan? It will. Because of the existence of the Byakugan, even the Hyuga branch family ninjas will be valued in the team and protected by the teammates. If they learn some medical ninjutsu, the Hyuga family's ninjas will simply be a delicious cake that everyone will compete for. Shinobu clan is the first village to be established in the ninja world, and from the ninja village era to the present, it has only been 60 years. Out of jealousy and fear of the power of the Kekkei Genkai, countless powerful Kekkei Genkai clans have been submerged in the torrent of history. There are many Kekkei Genkai clans in the ninja world today, but when it comes to Kekkei Genkai clans, it seems that the Hyuga family is the only one. As the Great Elder said, when the civilian ninjas rose, the power of the Naruto clan was unprecedentedly strong. Supporting Naruto is the only way for the Hyuga family to survive. And the advantage of supporting Naruto is that they can use the civilian ninjas to protect the Hyuga family. The Great Elder glanced at Hyogo, and Hyogo said, "Hinata, you are doing very well now." In fact, Hyogo has discussed Hinata's matter with the Great Elder more than once. After several incidents, Hinata gained a great reputation in Shinobu. Hinata is not only the heir of the Hyuga main clan, but he is also Kakashi's disciple and a direct descendant of Naruto. But this was actually very dangerous. Fortunately, Hinata's character was very unconventional, as others thought. However, this unconventional character was a form of protection for Hinata. Just like Jiraiya. Jiraiya was very strong, but no one in the village thought that he was a threat. Hyogo dared to let Hinata gain reputation because he had considered Hinata's personality. However, Hyogo did not want to use this matter to praise Hinata. He actually hoped that Hinata could be more serious. Hinata's expression was serious as he asked, "And then? I know that I'm very good, but can you stop praising me like this? It's not that I'm embarrassed. But your words of praise are too old-fashioned. Can't you use more innovative words? Can't you use some more beautiful words? A family without innovation will definitely be eliminated by the ninja world." Hinata is not a child who lacks love like Sasuke. For Hinata, who has been praised since childhood, this kind of praise has long been tired of hearing. Are there no practical benefits at all? Hyogo was silent for a moment. He felt that with Hinata's character, the words he had prepared for a long time before were useless. Hinata, you have to remember that money is not omnipotent. You are the heir of the main clan, outside. You have to do what the heir of the main clan should do. Hinata said depressingly, I know that money is not omnipotent, I'm not that greedy. I just want money, I don't expect it to be omnipotent. I'm a person who relies on my face to make a living. How can I maintain my skin without money? Don't look at me now when I'm old. Forget it. Hyogo and the great elder looked at each other. They called Hinata over today with the intention of explaining something. After all, the fifth Naruto is about to take office, and there are some things that Hinata, the heir, needs to know. But looking at Hinata's appearance, what difference does it make whether he says it or not? He's about to invite the fifth Naruto to dinner. Is there a better relationship than this? However, Hyogo still felt that he has to hold on for a while. My old age and retirement life. Coming out of the study, Hinata went back to his room to take a bath. The smell of barbecue from lunch was all over his body. At 6 o'clock in the evening, Hinata changed his clothes and went to the place agreed upon with Tsunade. Big sis, Sister Jeanine, over here. In addition to Tsunade and Jeanine, Jiraiya also brought Naruto over. The five of them entered a restaurant together. Hinata walked in front, looking arrogant like a nouveau riche. After booking a private room, Hinata took the menu and said to the waiter, I want this. Hinata's movements were too fast, and the waiter couldn't see which one Hinata was referring to, so he couldn't help but ask, Sir, what did you just order? Hinata looked up at the waiter and said unhappily, I want this. I want everything on this page. Do you understand now? Hinata flipped through the menu again and said lightly, I want everything on this page too. Jiraiya's face turned green. So you're not spending money, so you're ordering food as much as you can, huh? Jiraiya's eyes moved, and he suddenly thought, no one should know about the agreement between Hinata and me, right? She said that she would pay for this meal. If I leave early, won't she pay the bill in the end? As long as I leave early, Hinata won't dare to spread it everywhere, right? Thinking of this, Jiraiya laughed in his heart. Hinata, Hinata, no matter how cunning you are, won't you still fall in the hands of this immortal in the end? Jeanine said a little embarrassedly, Hinata, we ordered so many dishes, can we finish them all? Hinata patted his chest and promised, Don't worry, these may not be enough. Tsunade looked at Hinata with a little interest and said in a playful tone, Hinata, you seem to be very rich. Of course. Hinata said straightforwardly, when I make friends, I never look at whether they have money or not. Anyway, they are not as rich as me. As long as they are my friends, they can tell me if they have no money in the future. Not good. He's bragging too much. Jiraiya smiled a little proudly. Say it, as long as you say it, I will immediately ask you to borrow money. Hinata's eyes moved, and he said with a strong momentum, I can tell you how I live without money. You can learn from me. Hinata, as the host, finished ordering the dishes and handed the menu to Tsunade, asking, Big sister, do you have anything else to order? Tsunade shook her head, glanced at Jiraiya, and said lightly, A few more bottles of sake. Before the dishes were served, Tsunade took out a deck of poker cards from his pocket and said lightly, Do you want to play a few rounds? The young chick was suddenly interested. Do you want to win money? Tsunade glanced at Hinata, and snorted lightly, Hinata, I feel that you have been a little arrogant recently. Hinata had indeed been a little arrogant recently. With the Hyuga family behind him and Tsunade as the big sister, wouldn't Shinobu be able to do whatever he wanted in the future? During the day, Hinata went to register as a chunin by himself. In order to protect Kakashi, Jiraiya told Tsunade about Hinata's past evil deeds word for word, and Naruto added fuel to the fire. Hinata fought with Sasuke in the Ninja Academy for 6 years. This was indeed a fact. But the person who was beaten was actually Sasuke. It was terrible. Hinata ate so much that he wanted to beat up Sasuke to help with digestion. As for the relationship between Hinata and Kakashi, it was even more untrue. Although Hinata was usually indifferent to Kakashi, in fact, Hinata often talked about Kakashi behind his back. A lot of bad things about him were spread by Hinata. After learning the truth of the matter, Hinata's soft and cute image in Tsunade's heart instantly collapsed. Chapter 126. Hinata, who had no idea that her persona had collapsed, was kept in the dark by everyone. Tsunade was a little tipsy. Jiraiya and Naruto were both stinky men, and Jinin had been pretending to be serious, which was very boring. Tsunade had been teasing Hinata, and Hinata had been acting cute. Tsunade had treated her like a doll and pinched Hinata. So happy, Jiraiya, who was drunk, became bolder, and looked at Tsunade with infatuation. Tsunade knew that Jiraiya liked her, and she also had a good impression of Jiraiya. But there were some things that she couldn't accept. No one wanted their man to be a pervert, who was reluctant to leave Kabuki-cho and shamelessly peeping at the women's bathhouse. And Jiraiya's facial features were different, and neither of them was willing to submit to the other. Ask Jiraiya himself, if he was a woman, would he be willing to marry her? Even though she was old, Tsunade didn't want to casually marry someone for the rest of her life. What was that? Do you want to live together? After living alone for so many years, Tsunade was used to this kind of loneliness. If nothing unexpected happened, in the future, she would probably be living alone. In fact, the simple friendship of companions was also quite good. Big Sis, Sister Jinin, and Naruto, goodbye. After the dinner, everyone went home. Tsunade was already drunk, and Jinin didn't drink. She was responsible for taking Tsunade home. As for Jiraiya, his plan to make Hinata pay the bill was destroyed before it could be implemented. Jiraiya was knocked out by Tsunade, and was left in the restaurant. He would pay the bill tomorrow morning after he woke up. Walking home alone, Hinata suddenly felt like he was being watched. Needless to say, it must be Hinata Takuma. Although Shinobu was safe and Hinata was very strong, Hinata Takuma still carried out his mission to protect Hinata. Then, he reported Hinata's whereabouts, the people he saw, and the things he experienced to Hyogo word for word. Sooner or later, he would kill him. After turning into a small alley, Hinata suddenly stopped. There was actually more than one person following him. Who could it be? Danzo? How dare you? Swoosh. A figure flashed. Hinata looked up and said with some surprise, Sasuke, why is it you? Since Hinata Takuma didn't come out, it proved that the person in front of him was the real Sasuke, and not someone who used transformation jutsu. After not seeing him for a few days, the feeling Sasuke gave to Hinata was a little different. His chakra became a little cold. Sasuke's eyes were a little complicated. He had made a decision. He wanted to sneak away alone. But before leaving, he still wanted to say goodbye to Hinata. Sasuke's face was indifferent, and he chuckled, Are you interested in fighting? For Hinata, Sasuke was actually very complicated. Originally, they were just opponents. In order to win the title of strongest, everyone in the Uchiha clan told him that he must defeat Hinata in the Ninja Academy. However, Hinata's strength made Sasuke helpless. When he was a child, Sasuke was a little awkward. The more he couldn't beat Hinata, the more he paid attention to Hinata. It's just 6 years of life in the Ninja Academy. Sasuke seemed to be used to being bullied by Hinata. This time, leaving Shinobu, Sasuke was pursuing more powerful strength, enough to support his revenge. So before leaving, Sasuke really wanted to see Hinata, to see how big the gap between himself and Hinata was. Hinata nodded slightly and chuckled, Okay. Sasuke jumped and ran quickly towards the back mountain of Shinobu. Hinata followed, and at the same time, made a gesture to Hinata Takuma, telling him not to follow. In the open space in the forest, Sasuke made a seal of opposition. Hinata looked a little surprised and also made a seal of opposition. Sasuke's hands quickly made a seal. Fire release. Great fireball technique. Even if his strength has improved a lot, Sasuke still recognized the fact that fighting Hinata in close combat is no different from taking the initiative to die. Hinata jumped up and hung upside down on the tree, looked at Sasuke and chuckled, "Fire of mercy? This fire release can't burn people to death. Byakugan." As soon as the words fell, Hinata bent his legs and kicked his feet hard, and rushed towards Sasuke from top to bottom at a very fast speed. While still in the air, Hinata's whole body began to rotate, releasing chakra through the acupoints all over his body. Heaven Reversal Bomb. Since this ninjutsu was developed, this was the first time Hinata used it in actual combat. Although it's a relatively stupid ninjutsu, it's enough to teach Sasuke a lesson. Sasuke jumped up and avoided Hinata's attack trajectory. Seeing that he was about to hit the ground, Hinata's rotation speed suddenly decreased, and with one hand on the ground, his whole body rotated again and rushed straight towards Sasuke. It's still the Heaven Reversal Bomb. Sasuke can't use force in the air, so he can only make a seal again. Lightning Release. The limitations of ninjutsu once again showed. Sasuke can't control Chidori at will, and in such a short time, he can't condense Chidori at all. Bang! Sasuke was hit by the Heaven Reversal Bomb, and his whole body flew out and hit a tree. Ugh! Hinata was a little dizzy and a little disgusted. This trick can't be used again in the future. You win. Sasuke's desire to win against Hinata is not as strong as Naruto. Maybe it's because he is used to being bullied by Hinata, or maybe it's because there is no chakra between Indra and Ajura. Hinata was silent, and then said, "Have you decided to leave?" Sasuke's pupil shrank, and his eyes stared at Hinata, and said with difficulty, "You know?" Hinata nodded slightly. Sasuke asked coldly, "What do you want to do?" Hinata tilted her head and looked at Sasuke with curved eyes and said with a smile, "You have to remember, no matter how distant our relationship becomes in the future, as long as we have a meal, we can go back to the beginning." Sasuke was silent. In the past, when Hinata showed this expression, it often means that he is likely to be beaten, and beaten very badly. But now, seeing Hinata's expression, Sasuke felt a little warm in his heart. He felt that Hinata understood him. But in just a moment, Sasuke suppressed this emotion. He wants to leave Shinobu. He must cut off all the fetters of the past, and become a true avenger, an avenger without emotions. He can only have one fetter, and that is the fetter between him and Itachi Uchiha. Perhaps only after Sasuke cuts off his fetter with Itachi Uchiha can he return to the beginning. Hinata asked, "When do you plan to leave?" Sasuke shook his head slightly, and no emotion could be heard in his voice. "I haven't decided yet." Hinata was surprised. "Haven't you already decided?" Sasuke didn't answer, got up, patted the dust on his body, and walked into the darkness alone. Before stepping into the darkness, the moonlight could still illuminate Sasuke's figure, and his voice could be heard clearly. "Maybe tonight." Chapter 127. Under the moonlight, he walked alone on his way home. For Sasuke's departure, although Hinata was a little disappointed, he wasn't too sad. Before Sasuke became strong, it was safest for him to follow Orochimaru, because Orochimaru would do his best to train Sasuke. And Sasuke's eye power, or Indra's chakra in Sasuke's body, is enough to suppress Orochimaru's reincarnation jutsu. Indra, my reincarnation is not something that a little snake like you can covet. Therefore, Sasuke following Orochimaru is not dangerous. But if Sasuke continues to stay in Shinobu, even if the 3 generations are alive, they may not be able to protect Sasuke. When Hashirama and Uchiha Madara dominated the shinobi world, the 3 generations and Danzo were still young, so they didn't know much about them. But as long as they have seen the power of 9 tails, they should be able to understand how vast the power of these 2 is. Hashirama can easily suppress 9 tails, and Uchiha Madara treats 9 tails as a pet. Danzo already has the Mangekyo. Although Hashirama's cells can avoid the defects of the Mangekyo, Danzo may not be unaware of the limitations of the Mangekyo. The eternal Mangekyo. For Danzo and the 3 generations, it may not be a secret at all. Even if they don't know, after so many years, they will have some guesses. Once Sasuke begins to grow, Once Sasuke has the sign of opening his eyes, it may be the time of Sasuke's death. The 3 generations and Danzo know Itachi Uchiha, and he will eventually choose Sasuke. But that's the worst part. Sasuke is an avenger, but Shinobu is the culprit of Uchiha's extermination. In order to contain Itachi Uchiha, the 3 generations and Danzo can tolerate a weak Sasuke, but absolutely can't tolerate a grown Sasuke. Alas! Sasuke is leaving. Naruto is also leaving. Hinata sighed, so only he and Kakashi were left in Team 7. Forget it, I'll be good to Kakashi in the future. Hinata decided to turn over a new leaf. After Tsunade severely injured Kakashi's, he will go to the hospital to visit him. The moon tonight is so dark, only a little bit curved. Back at the Hyuga residence, Hinata took a bath and returned to his room. Sure enough, Hua Hua was already lying on the bed and sleeping. Every time Hinata returned from a trip, Hua Hua always ran to Hinata's room, waiting to sleep with Hinata. But Hinata came back late. Hua Hua waited and fell asleep first. Hinata covered Hua Hua with a quilt, lay on the bed, and fell asleep with Hua Hua in his arms. To be honest, Hinata didn't sleep well that night. Sasuke defected, the village will give the order to pursue, right? Hinata thought about the original work, and always felt that Tsunade will send a few genin to pursue Sasuke. At present, Hinata and a few others in the village have nothing to do. But Hinata slept until 8 o'clock in the morning, and even Hua Hua went to school, but there was no movement in the village at all. Strange, a living person just disappeared out of thin air, and the #1 ninja village of the ninja world didn't even have any reaction. In fact, at this moment, Tsunade hasn't even held the ceremony to succeed Naruto, and last night, he had a hangover, so until last night, Tsunade hasn't officially taken over Naruto's work. Just after the war, the entire Shinobu is busy. Although the village's defense system is strong, Danzo opened a back door for Orochimaru, allowing Orochimaru's people to freely enter and leave Shinobu and take Sasuke away. What is Danzo thinking? I'm afraid no one knows except for himself. In fact, Hinata has a guess. Danzo is old, even if he gets the eternal Mangekyo, it doesn't change anything. After all, Danzo has fused with Hashirama's cells and got the Eye of Shisui. So Danzo wants to kill Sasuke. It's just that the 3 generations are dead, and Tsunade and Jiraiya have returned. Although Danzo can suppress Tsunade and Jiraiya by virtue of his identity as an elder, it's impossible for him to kill Sasuke silently under the eyes of the 2. So let Sasuke go to Orochimaru, and let Sasuke become a defector ninja. Danzo can kill Sasuke without any scruples. As for Shinobu's reaction, in the original manga, Shinobu discovered that Sasuke had defected because of Sakura's information. But now, the only 2 people in the village who know that Sasuke has defected are still lying in bed like salted fish at the moment, tangling with the important question of, should I get up or should I continue to sleep? So tangled, Hinata grabbed his hair in pain, making his originally soft hair look like straw. He wants to sleep, but he is worried that the village will find out that Sasuke has defected and send him to chase Sasuke. Hinata always felt that Kimimaro and Otsutsuki Kagaya may have some connection. After all, Otsutsuki Kagaya has used the Kekkei Genkai, killing the Grey Bones in the manga. The Shikatsugu Genkai may also be from the Otsutsuki clan. So Hinata is very interested in Kimimaro. I want to chase Sasuke, I want to fight Kimimaro. But why is the village's reaction so slow? Although Hinata already knows that Sasuke has defected, Hinata can't talk about it. It's so uncomfortable. Not here, not here. Where did Sasuke go? Early in the morning, Naruto came to the place agreed with Sasuke and prepared to practice with Sasuke. It's just that Naruto waited for a long time, but he didn't see Sasuke's figure. Could it be that Sasuke is like Kakashi, sensei, lost on the road of life? Naruto first went to Sasuke's house, and then went to several places where Sasuke often went, but he couldn't find Sasuke. It's strange, where did Sasuke go? With Naruto's naivety and his feelings for Sasuke, he would never think that Sasuke has defected. Since he couldn't find Sasuke, Naruto had to practice alone. Hinata was lying on the bed with her arms and legs spread out. Her eyes were empty and lifeless. From 8 o'clock in the morning until 11 o'clock in the afternoon, Hinata finally got up from the bed when it was time for lunch. Hinata just wanted to shout to the sky, "Sasuke has defected." Then he would take people to chase after Sasuke. He wanted to see if he could get some small secrets from Kimimaro. But this kind of thing can't be said. What the hell is Shinobu doing? A big living person disappeared out of thin air, and no one noticed it. And it's almost 12 o'clock at noon. Sasuke probably ran away a long time ago. Even if he wanted to chase after Sasuke, it's too late now. I'm so stupid. Together with lunch and breakfast, Hinata had a good meal and finally felt alive. Kakashi and the Jonin went to perform a task together. Hinata just returned to the village yesterday, and there was no task today, so he could stay at home for a good day. Speaking of which, Chunin is already qualified to lead a team to perform a task alone. Should I take Naruto with me to take a few tasks to play? Hinata: forget it, it's more comfortable to stay at home. Chapter 128. Moving a small stool and a small table under the cherry tree, Hinata made a pot of tea, took a few plates of pastries, and enjoyed the leisurely afternoon. The warm sun shone on his body. Hinata felt his whole body warm up. Comfortable. If Naruto didn't have so much blood and darkness, it would actually be quite good. The best thing about this world is that you can graduate at the age of 12. After graduation, the work is also quite casual. If you have no money, you can do a few tasks. If you have money, you can stay at home and enjoy. It's simply a perfect life. Although she didn't have much entertainment, when she was a little older, Hinata would be able to read Jiraiya's famous work, Intimate Paradise. For a whole day, the whole Shinobu was calm, without a trace of waves. Shinobu's collapse plan has just passed, and the village's leaders are busy negotiating with the Sand Village, and the low-level ninjas are busy performing tasks. The efficiency of a ninja village is related to the reputation of the entire village in the ninja world. When a treasure seller sells something, they ask for a good rating. Shinobu is also very concerned about the evaluation and views of the outside world. In this case, who cares about the whereabouts of a mere genin? Even if his surname is Uchiha. The key is that no one thought that Sasuke would defect, and Danzo was in the village to support Orochimaru. Sasuke disappeared almost silently in Shinobu. The only people in Shinobu who know that Sasuke has defected are probably only Danzo and Hinata. It's a pity that Danzo and Hinata have a guilty conscience, so they won't talk about it. In the evening, Hana returned home from school, and Niji also returned from his task, but Hinata didn't hear anyone mention Sasuke. Hinata was unhappy. This time, Orochimaru must be happy. Even Shinobu's group of 4 was saved. You should really thank me for my great kindness. In the evening, Naruto, who had been practicing all day, once again went to Uchiha's house, but unfortunately, Sasuke was still missing. Even Naruto, who has a one-track mind, felt that something was wrong at this time. Sasuke shouldn't have something happen to him, right? Thinking of this, Naruto's first reaction was not to inform others, but shadow clone jutsu. Countless shadow clones almost turned Shinobu upside down. When the moon was high in the sky, Naruto suddenly realized that he should inform Tsunade Grandma. He ran all the way to the Naruto. Knock. Naruto knocked on the door twice, and without waiting for the person inside to agree, he directly pushed the door open and entered. Grandma Tsunade, bad news, Sasuke is missing. Tsunade sleepily got up from the table, wiped the saliva from the corner of her mouth, and waved to greet. Good evening, Naruto. Grandma Tsunade, you just fell asleep. Naruto loudly complained, but quickly reacted, and hurriedly shouted, No, no. Grandma Tsunade, Sasuke is missing. I searched many places, but couldn't find Sasuke. Sasuke? Tsunade quickly reacted. As a member of the Thousand Hands clan, she was extremely sensitive to the surname Uchiha. Uchiha Sasuke disappeared in the village? Tsunade immediately realized that Orochimaru had begun to act. Naruto shouted, Grandma Tsunade, what should we do now? Should we send someone to find Sasuke? Looking up at Naruto, Tsunade asked, Naruto, when did you find out that Sasuke was missing? Naruto scratched his head. Probably this morning. This morning? Tsunade slammed the table and said angrily, You found out that he was missing this morning, why didn't you report it until this evening? Naruto said foolishly, I thought that Sasuke went to play with Kakashi, sensei. Tsunade said with a gloomy face, If Sasuke was taken away by Orochimaru, it has been a whole day, even if we immediately send ninjas to track him, I'm afraid that it will be very difficult to catch up with him. Naruto shouted, Orochimaru? Why did he take Sasuke? Naruto was no stranger to the name Orochimaru. Although he didn't have any direct contact with Orochimaru, he often heard Jiraiya and Tsunade talking about Orochimaru. Tsunade said in a deep voice, Orochimaru took Sasuke. I'm afraid that he wants to obtain the power of the Uchiha clan. Naruto anxiously scratched his ears and cheeks, but he couldn't think of a feasible way. After pondering for a moment, Tsunade suddenly got up, slammed the table with both hands, and shouted, We must not let Sasuke fall into the hands of Orochimaru. Naruto, immediately find Shikamaru and Hinata, tell them to form a chase team and bring Sasuke back to me. Naruto said loudly, Good. I'll go right away. Looking at Naruto's back, Tsunade's eyes were somewhat complicated. From last night to now, Sasuke has been missing for nearly 24 hours. According to the speed of a ninja, Sasuke has probably run out of the Land of Fire. After leaving the Land of Fire, wanting to catch up with Sasuke is simply a pipe dream. However, Tsunade was not thinking about how to bring Sasuke back, but the truth behind this matter. Tsunade just returned to the village yesterday, and today the orphan of the Uchiha clan defected from the village. Tsunade has to consider the negative impact of this matter. More importantly, how did Sasuke escape from Shinobu? Shinobu has a perception barrier around the village, and there are also ninjas patrolling the village. People who don't understand Shinobu's defense can't sneak into the village, let alone leave Shinobu silently. Sasuke's defection must be secretly helped by someone inside Shinobu. As for sending people to catch up with Sasuke, instead of declaring Sasuke a defector on the spot, Tsunade just wanted to make an attitude. Although her surname is Senju, she doesn't reject Uchiha. In addition, Tsunade also wants to see the internal problems of Shinobu through this matter. Konoha. To what extent has it decayed? Is it just one person, or a large group of people? Although it's just a defection of a genin, Tsunade saw the seriousness behind the incident. The corruption of Shinobu's organization made the village full of loopholes. After dinner, Hinata was lying on a rocking chair in the small courtyard, looking at the twinkling stars in the sky. His face was slightly dazed. As he swayed, waves of drowsiness assaulted him. Hinata! Naruto jumped over the wall and shouted, There's no time to explain, come with me. After that, Naruto stepped forward and wanted to grab Hinata's small hand. Bang! Hinata patted the non-existent dust on his clothes, condescendingly looked at Naruto who was lying on the ground, and asked lightly, Do you have time to explain now? Naruto instantly turned over and hurriedly said, Hinata, Sasuke was captured by Orochimaru. Grandma Tsunade asked me to find you and Shikamaru, and let you form a chase team to bring back that bastard Sasuke. Hinata looked at the sky speechlessly. I've been waiting for a whole day, and you only know now. And Sasuke has been away from Shinobu for 24 hours, what's the use of chasing him now? Chapter 129. Although Hinata is a little salted fish, he is not stupid. In fact, he was born in a Hyuga family and was designated as the successor of the main family. Since Hinata was 5 years old, Hyogo began to deliberately guide Hinata to come in contact with some political matters. Tracking Sasuke is just a cover. Tsunade's purpose is not to recover Sasuke, but to express his attitude. Otherwise, Sasuke left the village silently like this. If it was someone else, he would have declared him a defector on the spot, and then sent the Umbu to hunt him down. Tsunade's purpose of sending people to chase him is to tell everyone that Sasuke did not betray the village, but was forcibly captured by Orochimaru. So how did Orochimaru's people sneak into the village? They had to do a thorough investigation. Even in the original work, Sasuke was officially declared a defector because he attacked Killer Bee. Sasuke is involved in a lot of things. In particular, Tsunade is a member of the Senju clan, and many things are actually very passive. You go find Shikamaru first. Hinata said weakly, I'm going to change my clothes, and after half an hour, we will meet at the village gate. Good. Naruto responded with an imposing manner, and then left over the wall, disappearing in the blink of an eye. Back in the house, Hinata changed into the same robe as Kagaya Otsutsuki, and his whole aura suddenly changed. Well, he looks a little dull. Not to mention that he is a size smaller, and his hair color is also different. The key point is that Hinata still has short hair, and his pupils are white, and he looks a little bit dull. After putting on his ninja tools, Hinata thought for a while and put on a backpack. He took the snacks and dried fruits that he didn't finish in the afternoon and prepared them for breakfast tomorrow morning. When they arrived at the entrance of Shinobu, Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, Xiao Li, and Ya had already arrived. Naruto stood at the front of the team and roared, "That's it, let's go!" The two Chunin-sama were still there, and no one cared about him. Hinata and Shikamaru looked at each other and nodded slightly. Smart people could read each other's minds. Although the first mission after being promoted to Chunin is bound to fail, the complexity behind this matter is far from something that a few Chunin and Genin can participate in. This time, rather than calling it a mission, it would be better to call it a trip at public expense. At most, he would wander around outside and then return to the village to announce that he had failed the mission. Shikamaru curled his lips and said, "Although it's troublesome, I'll explain it briefly. Sasuke has left Shinobu for more than 24 hours. Our purpose is not so much to save people, but to investigate the enemy's information. If we have the ability, we can also bring Sasuke back. Although it's just an investigation, our opponent is after all one of the Sannin, Orochimaru's men. To be honest, if we are scattered, we may not be able to survive." Hinata didn't want to interrupt, but when he heard Shikamaru say this, he was a little unhappy. Isn't this raising the morale of others and destroying his own prestige? How many times has Orochimaru fallen in his hands? If you ask him to count it himself, doesn't he know it in his heart? I'm afraid of him? What a joke. Can Orochimaru be regarded as strong? Let me tell you, Orochimaru was defeated by me. This time, when I went to meet the fifth Naruto, Orochimaru was defeated by me. Shikamaru looked at Hinata in surprise and asked, "Hinata, you defeated Orochimaru?" Yes. Hinata nodded repeatedly and explained with a serious face, "Orochimaru was seriously injured by the 3 generations, and even now he can't make hand seals. Humph. Sooner or later, I will kill him. In a few years, I will go to Uncle Snake's house to eat." When it comes to eating, Hinata immediately began to think about other things. The Ryuchi cave, delicious snake soup, and the roasted frog of Mount Mayaboku. As for the slugs of the Shikatsu forest, I can also sprinkle some salt. Too disgusting, forget it. Shikamaru nodded and continued to explain, "Our goal this time is Shinobu village in the land of rice. It is safe in the land of fire, but once we enter the land of rice, we are likely to face danger. And the 6 of us, Hinata and Ya, are responsible for the most difficult task of guarding. Chunichi and I have the most tacit cooperation and can provide support. Naruto is responsible for supporting everywhere. As for Xiao Li, he can burst out a powerful force at the critical moment. As for the rest, we will talk about it when we reach the land of rice. Let's go now." "Wait a minute." Hinata shouted and suddenly turned to look at Shikamaru and asked in disbelief, "You just said, where are we going?" Shikamaru felt strange. To the land of rice to investigate Orochimaru? "Where are we going?" "The land of rice. Shinobu village." Hinata suddenly discovered that she and Shikamaru didn't have a tacit understanding at all. Instead, they were like donkeys whose lips didn't match the horse's mouth. Was Shikamaru really a salted fish? Hinata expressed his doubts. Originally, it was just an easy travel mission, and the difficulty of the mission would definitely not exceed D level. But because of Shikamaru, the travel mission immediately became an investigation mission, and the difficulty of the mission could become S level at any time. You must be a fake salted fish. Hinata had always thought that Shikamaru was a salted fish, and with his intelligence, he should be able to guess Tsunade's thoughts. So when Shikamaru explained the mission, Hinata did not listen carefully at all. After all, Hinata already knew these things. It was not until Shikamaru began to arrange the plan that Hinata listened carefully. He didn't expect Shikamaru to open his mouth and go to the land of rice. Hinata asked loudly, "Shikamaru, do you want to die?" Shikamaru looked at Hinata and said in a serious tone, "I have thought about it carefully. Although I don't know much about Shinobu Village, with our strength, as long as the enemy is not too strong, we can use the power of Naruto as we did with my love. And Orochimaru is seriously injured now, this is our opportunity." Speaking of this, Shikamaru looked at Hinata and said with a smile, "Even if we are unlucky and encounter Orochimaru, the rest is up to you, Hinata." Although Shikamaru is a little lazy, he has just been promoted to Chunin after all, and at this moment in front of his classmates, he is still a little arrogant. Although Shikamaru guessed Tsunade's idea, he didn't want to accept the result of failing the first mission after being promoted to Chunin. After careful consideration, Shikamaru decided to sneak into the land of rice and secretly investigate the information of Shinobu Village. With the power of Hinata and Naruto, and his wisdom, Shikamaru has this confidence. It can be done. Especially when Hinata has the ability to defeat Orochimaru, and Orochimaru is seriously injured. Xiao Li's eyes were full of fire, and he said with great momentum, "Yes. If I have the power of Naruto, I can open the fifth gate." Naruto roared full of energy, "No problem, leave everything to me." Several other cockroaches also expressed that as long as they have the power of Naruto, they can open the gate at any time. 12 years old is the age of youthful rebellion. Even in the face of Orochimaru, everyone will have a kind of Chunibu idea of suppressing all enemies in the world. Hinata looked at Shikamaru like looking at a fool. "Who gave you the courage?" "I'm just bragging. Don't tell me that you took everything I said just now for real. Aren't you known as a genius with an IQ of more than 200? This is King IQ of -200. You idiot. Don't you have to pay tax for bragging?" "I'm just bragging, why do I have to risk my life to fight?" A group of cockroaches looked at Hinata with trust in their eyes. "No problem, we believe in you." Chapter 130. Hinata, Shikamaru, what are you going to do? Shikamaru, destroy Shinobu, kill Orochi. Hinata, what if you don't come back? Shikamaru, then I won't come back. Cough cough. Don't I still have you? You're getting cocky. A group of 6 people ran quickly in the woods. With Akamaru, Hinata didn't have to use Byakugan all the time. Byakugan's ability is all-around 360-degree investigation, which can take care of all blind spots and make no mistakes. As for the traps along the way, the smell of iron is still a little different from the smell of the woods. Akamaru, the dog, was enough. The land of rice is in the north of Shinobu. It was originally a small country without a Shinobu village. It wasn't until more than 10 years ago that Orochimaru established Shinobu village in the land of rice. Although it's just a small village, it has independent politics and military after all. Even if Shinobu knows that Shinobu village is Orochimaru's village, it's impossible to start a war directly. The impact of annexing the surrounding small countries is great. If you're not careful, it may arouse the vigilance of other major ninja villages, and it may start the Fourth Shinobi World War. Hinata's face was full of depression, and he even doubted life. Is it necessary? I'm just bragging, why do you all take it seriously? In his previous life, Hinata often bragged and joked with his friends. When he brags, he doesn't even need to write a draft, it's just coming out of his mouth. I have a friend who knows how. Aren't the people of Naruto too naive? The most important thing is that even if Hinata wants to go back on his words now, it's too late. Do you think I, Otsutsuki Hinata, don't want to lose face. Spilled water can't be taken back. Hinata sighed, now he can only puff himself up at his own cost, take one step at a time. He only hopes that Nine Tails will give him face again, and help him at the critical moment. Hinata suddenly turned to look at Naruto. If Nine Tails doesn't give me face, I will kill his Jinchuriki and let Nine Tails die with Naruto. Hinata looked at the teammates around him. They were either newly promoted Chunins or rookie Genins. Wait a minute. Chunin and Genin? Orochimaru, you are now facing Shinobu Chunin and Shinobu Kiba. I hope you don't put up a fight and surrender immediately. Hinata instantly became full of vigor. He suddenly sped up and overtook everyone, shouting, "Everyone! Stop dilly-dallying, hurry up, I can't wait any longer." That was right. Shinobu's Genin gave Hinata immense courage. Orochimaru's fall was inevitable. Phew! Stop! Hinata suddenly shouted and then jumped down from the tree. Naruto and the other four followed and landed beside Hinata. Naruto yelled, "Hinata, why did you stop? Sasuke was captured by Orochimaru, and I don't know what happened to him." Shikamaru looked at the sky and said lightly, "It's dawn, we have to rest for a while now. Otherwise, once we encounter the enemy, we will have no power to fight back. In fact, my chakra has been consumed by more than half." Hinata looked at Kiba and chuckled, "Akamaru, the hunting task is handed over to you." Woof woof. Without waiting for Kiba to reply, Akamaru responded first. Kiba's face darkened, and he walked into the depths of the woods without saying a word. "Naruto, Choji, go and pick up some branches to make a fire." "Okay." Byakugan. After activating Byakugan, Hinata continued to assign tasks. "Shaoli, there is a river over there, you go and get some water back." Shikamaru complained, "Since there is a river over there, why don't we go to the river for a picnic?" And Akamaru, "Kiba should be able to find us." Hinata turned his head and looked at Shikamaru with a blank expression. Shikamaru panicked and quickly said, "Hinata, you should think the same, right?" "Yes." Hinata nodded and said happily, "It's decided, let's go to the river for a picnic." By the river. Hinata simply washed and complained, "We must find a town to have a good rest later. After running for a night, I feel so uncomfortable." Shikamaru calculated the distance in his heart and said, "At our current speed, we can probably enter the territory of the Land of Rice around 8 o'clock this evening. At that time, we will find a place for you to rest. And we also have to find a town to inquire about information." Naruto wondered, inquire about what information? Hinata glanced at Naruto and scolded, "Go and pick up the branches." Naruto, "Oh." Shikamaru explained, since Orochimaru established Shinobu Village, he must rely on tasks to maintain the operation of the village. The rich merchants of the Land of Rice may know the specific location of Shinobu Village. Hinata shook his head slightly and denied, "That's not necessarily true. Orochimaru is not a righteous person. He can threaten the daimyo of the Land of Rice and make the daimyo of the Land of Rice take out a large amount of military funds to support Shinobu Village. In this way, Shinobu Village does not need to carry out tasks at all and can maintain the normal operation of the village." Shikamaru thought for a moment and nodded in agreement with Hinata's statement. "You're right, but it's still necessary to investigate. Shinobu Village had not been established for long, and its location was very secretive. This time, if Orochimaru had not taken the initiative to expose it, Shinobu would not even know that Orochimaru was the leader of Shinobu Village." Shikamaru continued, "After Shinobu's collapse plan, I asked my dad about Orochimaru and Shinobu Village." Hinata said, "What did Uncle Shikaku say?" Shikamaru slowly said, "In July, Shinobu Village was not invited to participate in the joint Chunin exam held by Shinobu Village. It was the daimyo of the Land of Rice and the daimyo of the Land of Fire that allowed the ninjas of Shinobu Village to participate in the exam." So your analysis is very reasonable. The relationship between Shinobu Village and the Land of Rice may not be as harmonious as Shinobu Village and the Land of Fire. Hinata felt a little headache and asked blankly, "Then, does this information have anything to do with our mission?" Shikamaru, "No. There are some things that I don't know much about, for example, why did Orochimaru take away Sasuke? Is it because he covets the power of the Sharingan?" Hinata rolled his eyes at Shikamaru. "Nonsense." Shikamaru continued, "But what method does Orochimaru use to get the power of the Sharingan? Is it directly transplanting eyes like Kakashi-sensei?" Hinata understood Shikamaru's meaning. "Although I can't tell you much, Sasuke should be safe for now." Shikamaru nodded slightly and continued, "In that case, the time for our mission is not so tight." "Hinata, I have a plan." "Say it." "The power of Shinobu Village has almost been controlled by Shinobu in the last collapse plan. Maybe they have other trump cards, but the strongest is nothing more than Orochimaru." Shikamaru seemed very confident, and said solemnly, "Orochimaru was seriously injured in the battle with the three generations. If we can borrow the power of Naruto, it may not be impossible to sneak into Shinobu Village and bring back Sasuke." Hinata was confused. "Shikamaru, you are really arrogant now. Or is it that Orochimaru can't hold a sword anymore?" Chapter 131. Snap. Throwing the fifth pheasant skeleton to the ground, Hinata sighed in his heart. He really had no appetite at all. Eating the delicious barbecue, Hinata felt for the first time what it means to eat something as tasteless as wax. The whole meaning of life is, even if there are tears in your eyes, you have to live up to what you have boasted about. Hinata took the sixth roast pheasant and ate it while calculating the combat power of Shinobu Village in his heart. Orochimaru, Apothecary's Pocket, and Kimimaro are all strong. Shinobu's group of 4 probably has the strength of an elite Jonin in the state of activating the second curse seal. Remembering that in the original manga, Shinobu's group of 4 once fought with Don't Know Fire Gunma and Bayuzu Raitong, and they beat the two of them half to death in the state of curse seal, but they were also tired. In addition to these 7 people, Shinobu Village probably has some cannon fodder. And on his side, Hinata looked around. If Naruto drops the 9 tails, and he uses Sage Mode, plus the 9 tails chakra, he may not have no power to fight. Moreover, Orochimaru has hundreds of test subjects in his hands, but these test subjects have been tortured by Orochimaru for too long. They are either numb or completely crazy. It's okay to rely on them to create some chaos, but they can't be used as help. Seeing Hinata's thoughtful face, Shikamaru turned his head and asked, "Hinata, what are you thinking about?" Hinata said gloomily, "I'm calculating the difference in combat power between the enemy and us." Shikamaru knew that Hinata knew a lot more about Orochimaru than him, so he asked, "What's the result?" Hinata wanted to say that they are actually a Teletubbies team. But when the words came to his mouth, it became, "Humph. There's no problem at all. Orochimaru's side isn't that strong either. Other than Orochimaru, the others are all trash. As long as there is no accident with Naruto, we still have a chance to defeat Orochimaru." After saying that, Hinata turned around with tears in his eyes. Being so obsessed with saving face will really get you killed. Kiba said, "When I was hunting, I smelled blood nearby. There should be a fight over there." Shikamaru thought for a moment and said, "It should be that the person who kidnapped Sasuke encountered our Shinobu ninja." Naruto said anxiously, "Let's go after Sasuke." Shikamaru looked at the sky and stood up. "Has everyone rested enough? Let's go to the country of fields to scout for information and find a town to rest in. When we find the location of Shinobu Village, we will go and bring Sasuke back." "Okay." They ran all the way to the country of fields. Although they encountered many traps on the way, they did not encounter any enemies. Walking out of the forest, Hinata opened his Byakugan to investigate and said, "There is a town in front, but there is no strong chakra reaction. It should be a wandering ninja, but it can't be ruled out that it is an informant sent by Orochimaru." Shikamaru nodded and said, "If it is an informant of Orochimaru, then we will be too conspicuous." Hinata glanced at them and said, "Akamaru, You go to the town in front of us to investigate the layout of the town's buildings. Then we will use the transformation jutsu to enter the town from different directions and meet at the designated hotel. Kiba was dissatisfied. Why me? Your Byakugan should be better. Hinata explained, my Byakugan is too conspicuous. You can take the dog and pretend to be a wandering orphan. Kiba left alone, and Hinata looked at Shikamaru and asked, do you have any plans next? Shikamaru took out a pen and paper, motioned everyone to sit down first, and then explained, although Shinobu village of Orochimaru is hidden in the country of fields, it is not easy to find Shinobu village. I discussed with Hinata before that the location of Shinobu village is likely to be top secret. This means that no one in the country of fields should know the specific location of Shinobu village. After a pause, Shikamaru continued, we started chasing after Sasuke 24 hours after he left Shinobu village. Sasuke's scent has basically disappeared. So for us, everything has to be investigated from the beginning. Shikamaru drew a circle on the white paper and said, this is the country of fields. Apart from towns and villages, as well as those places where people often go, the area we need to explore is actually very small. And the information we need to investigate next is the terrifying legend of the country of fields. Hinata's eyes lit up when he heard this, and he gave Shikamaru a thumbs up. Smart. Naruto and Choji looked at each other, completely out of the situation. Xiao Li was even more one-track minded and was at best a hired thug. Shikamaru explained, I once discussed with my dad about Orochimaru. Orochimaru was expelled from the village by the 3 generations because it was discovered to be doing human experiments. If Orochimaru continues to do experiments, then there must be people who inexplicably disappear in the country of fields. And if there are too many missing people in a place, it will become a terrible legend in the mouth of the local people. Hinata reminded, Orochimaru is a veteran ninja and has been chased by Shinobu for many years. He may not do anything near Shinobu village. Shikamaru nodded and continued, that being said, there must be a very terrible legend in the place where Shinobu village is located to prevent people from getting close to that place and exposing Shinobu village. Hinata thought for a moment and agreed, although it is a bit troublesome, this is the only way we can do it at present. As long as Orochimaru continues to do experiments, there must be a large number of test subjects. A lot of people must have disappeared in the country of fields over the years. These places where people often disappear will become a terrible legend in the mouth of civilians. And Orochimaru's Shinobu village may be hidden in a terrible legend. Of course, this is only Shikamaru and Hinata's speculation. Orochimaru is such a sinister and cunning person, the village he built may not be so easy to find. After waiting for a while, Inuzuka Kiba returned from his investigation. Spreading a simple map on the ground, Kiba explained, there are a total of 13 hotels in the town. Among them, this hot spring hotel has the least number of guests because the price is too expensive. It is more suitable for us to hide our identities. In addition, the life in the periphery of the town is very poor, and there are many gangs entrenched in it. In order to avoid exposing our identities, we should try not to go to these places. With that, Inuzuka Kiba drew a few circles on the map, indicating that it was the territory of the gangs. Hinata shook her head and disagreed. The Yakuza are often the most well-informed place. Akamaru, tonight, you will disguise yourself as a wandering orphan and go to the Yakuza's territory to inquire about information. Investigate several places in the land of rice where people often go missing. To be honest, Kiba took Akamaru to disguise as a wandering orphan, and he didn't even need to use the transformation technique. It was too similar. Shikamaru nodded and said, "That's good, Kiba, then I'll leave it to you." Kiba looked at Akamaru in his arms with some depression, and Akamaru also whimpered. Shikamaru continued, "As for us, we will first sneak into the town with the transformation technique, separately inquire about the information, and then stay in this hot spring hotel. Wait until the evening, come to my room again." "Okay. Let's go." Chapter 132. Hinata used the transformation jutsu to become a fat man of more than 200 pounds and sneaked into the town. The reason why Hinata wanted to become a fat man is that even if he eats a lot, it won't arouse suspicion, and it can perfectly cover up his extraordinary appetite. It's just that this town is really a bit depressed. The pedestrians on the street are also in a hurry. There are occasionally a few small shops on the roadside, but there are not many customers. The garbage dump on the roadside hasn't been cleaned for a long time. Even if you are far away, you can still smell the stench. Some ragged homeless orphans use the garbage dump as a stronghold, holding sticks to drive away the stray cats and dogs that compete with them for food. Hinata felt a little uncomfortable. The country has become like this. No wonder Orochimaru's men are all loyal to Orochimaru. Even if Orochimaru regards their lives as grass, at least they don't have to worry about starving to death if they follow Orochimaru, and they have the opportunity to learn powerful ninjutsu and one day become a master. Entering the center of the town, it's a completely different world from the periphery. The lights are red, the wine is green, and the wine is red. Taverns, inns, casinos, and tea houses could be seen everywhere. Groups of 3 to 5 strong men were drunk, swaggering through the streets from time to time. This town borders the Land of Fire, and it's reasonable to say that it should be extremely prosperous. Businessmen from the Land of Rice who want to enter the Land of Fire will stay here for a night. However, the gap between the rich and the poor in this town is so serious, which may have an inseparable relationship with the shinobu village of Orochimaru. Of course, Danzo also has to take the blame. Hinata walked into a tavern, found a chair at the bar and sat down, ordered a glass of wine from the bartender, smelled it, and took a sip. The tavern was very noisy and filled with a foul atmosphere, but one could still hear a lot of useful information. Of course, these people can't talk about the ninjas of the 5 great ninja villages. Their topics are at best talking about a certain yakuza, how powerful a certain wandering ninja is, and so on. Hinata listened quietly. Although there is no important information, the appearance of the town is a little clearer in Hinata's mind. There are 3 major yakuza in the town, and the yakuza often fight with each other, and every time they fight, many civilians are innocently implicated. Because of this, there are so many homeless orphans in the town. Because most of their parents are involved in the yakuza fights. Either they were dead, or they had disappeared without a trace. Hinata almost immediately thought of Orochimaru. Orochimaru's forces are complicated, and he has many secret bases all over the shinobi world. Although Orochimaru's village is established, Orochimaru's village, Shinobu's village. For Orochimaru, Otoge-cure may just be a place to get experimental funds. And the yakuza forces in this town may be supported by Orochimaru. The yakuza provide Orochimaru with experimental materials, and Orochimaru sends people to protect them. Because the fight between the yakuza can be used as a cover for the disappearance of people, and at the same time, it can also be used as the eyes and ears of Orochimaru to monitor all parts of the Land of Rice. After roughly understanding the situation, Hinata paid for the drinks and went to the hot spring hotel, agreed with Shikamaru and booked the most luxurious room. Falling on the bed, Hinata deactivated the transformation jutsu, and only felt that his whole body was alive. Comfortable. Let's go to the hot spring first, and then come back to sleep. Hot spring? Hinata suddenly thought of a problem. The big fat guy he transformed into before was a man. Go to the men's hot spring room? Absolutely not. After hesitating for a while, Hinata gloomily jumped out of the window, and then turned into a big beauty, and booked a new room. Hinata was the only one in the hot spring room, and Hinata also deactivated the transformation jutsu. Soaking in the hot spring, Hinata only showed his small head outside, and the hot spring steam steamed Hinata's face until it was red. My money. Orochimaru, if I can't make up for my losses this time, I will definitely soak you in a wine jar. Fighting in the Shinobu village dungeon, at least some good things should be dropped, right? Feeling the movement at the door, Hinata quickly swam behind the rockery, and used the transformation jutsu to turn into a big beauty. Ta-ta-ta. The sound of slippers on the ground was heard, and someone should have come in. Why is there no one here? Listening to her tone, she seemed to be quite disappointed. Hinata was a little suspicious, and his hands formed a seal to activate the Byakugan. The person who came in was indeed a woman, but the flow of chakra, it was actually the transformation jutsu. Hinata hid behind the rockery and said word by word, "You give me go out go Is it Hinata?" After saying that, the woman ran out of the room. Her footsteps were extremely hurried. "Naruto, I will remember you." An hour later, Hinata maintained the transformation jutsu and returned to the big beauty's room, and then jumped out of the window, and went to the room booked by the big fatty, and ordered a lot of food from the hotel waiter. After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Hinata jumped out of the window and returned to the room booked by the big beauty. "Do you think it's easy for me?" Hinata was also speechless. Just to eat a full meal, he had to maintain 2 different identities. The cost was huge. Otherwise, with such a slim figure, it would be too shocking if she could eat the food of dozens of people. At around 10 o'clock in the evening, except for Ya, the people who went out to gather information had already returned. The 5 of them gathered in Shikamaru's room. After releasing the transformation jutsu, Hinata activated the Byakugan to investigate, and then nodded to Shikamaru, indicating that everyone was on the same side. Shikamaru sighed in relief, and said first, "Everyone, tell me, what information did you gather?" Naruto and Choji were useless in gathering information, and they stammered a few words of nonsense. Although Xiao Li was one-track-minded, he had more than a year of ninja experience, and more or less found some useful information. Shikamaru turned to Hinata, and Hinata nodded. "Let me say it first. The local gangs are related to Orochimaru, and the gangs often fight with each other, in fact, to create chaos and cover up the inexplicable disappearance of people." Hinata said the information he heard in the pub, and added a little of his own speculation, and a complete chain of interests was inferred by Hinata. Shikamaru said softly, "The information I investigated is similar to Hinata's. The local gangs should have some connection with Orochimaru, and then we will see if he has any harvest." Hinata thought for a moment and said, "There should be some harvest. I have seen the homeless orphans in the town, and they are dressed similar to Ya, so no one should suspect him." Shikamaru nodded with a speechless face, and continued to say, "We can't stay in this town for too long, but the local gangs are indeed a clue. So I suggest that the 6 of us divide into 2 groups. Ya, and Choji will stay and continue to investigate the information of the gangs. Hinata, you take Naruto and Xiao Li into the Land of Rice to continue the investigation. In the matter of finding the location of Shinobu Village, your Byakugan will have more advantage. And if you take Naruto with you, even if you encounter danger, you can deal with it." Hinata thought for a moment, nodded, and said, "Okay. Then let's set a limit of 3 days. If we can't find the location of Shinobu Village within 3 days, we will return to the village to report." Chapter 133. Hinata proposed to investigate for only 3 days. In fact, he has his own little plan. Now, everyone is so arrogant that they turned a simple travel mission into an S-level super difficult mission. But if Hinata wants to slack off, he can completely turn the S-level mission into a simple travel mission again. Hinata is not a timid person, but there is no need to bring Sasuke back. If Sasuke is brought back to Shinobu, then he really has no future. Before the others spoke, Naruto shouted loudly, "Absolutely not. I will never go back without bringing Sasuke back to the village." Hinata sighed, patted Naruto on the shoulder and said, "You can rest assured, even if you are beaten to a pulp, I will let Choji carry you back." Shikamaru nodded and said softly, "All right. Then it's settled." The night was silent. Early the next morning, Hinata set off with Naruto and Xiao Li and entered the Land of Rice to continue to investigate Shinobu Village. Shikamaru and Choji stayed in the town and joined Kiba to investigate the local Yakuza forces. Shinobu Village, in the ward, Tsunade healed the injuries of Gunma and Mitsuki. Seeing the look of the two improved, Tsunade asked, "What kind of enemy did you encounter? How did you get injured like this?" Mitsuki's face showed a dignified look, and slowly said, "They are the subordinates of Orochimaru. They appeared in Shinobu during the Chunin exam." "Orochimaru's subordinates?" Tsunade asked with some confusion, "Are those people so strong?" Gunma took a breath weakly and explained, "They are no longer using ninja moves. It should be some kind of forbidden technique developed by Orochimaru." Tsunade asked, "Did you see Sasuke?" Sasuke? Gunma thought for a while and shook his head. "No. But those people have been carrying a large wooden barrel. I don't know what is inside." "It's very likely to be Sasuke." Tsunade's face was dignified. Just the people who took Sasuke away were so powerful, then Orochimaru's Shinobu village must be hiding more powerful ninjas. At the same time, Tsunade was also a little relieved. Now Shinobu has sent a large number of ninjas out to perform tasks, leaving only a small number of ninjas to protect the village. These people can't be mobilized. If she had received the information about Sasuke's defection earlier, perhaps Hinata and Shikamaru would have already encountered an accident at this moment. Calculating the time, they should be back by tomorrow morning at the latest. In Tsunade's mind, Shikamaru and Hinata will at most track to the border of the Land of Fire, and then turn back to Shinobu. Going back and forth, and pretending to investigate, it will take at most about 3 days. By this morning, Hinata and the others have been away from Shinobu for a day and 2 nights. Bang! The door of the ward was pushed open. Jeanine stood at the door, panting slightly, and said with sweat all over her body, "Tsunade-sama, there is information from the border about Hinata and the others." "Give it to me." Tsunade took the scroll and opened it. The fact that Hinata and the others left the Land of Fire and entered the Land of Rice was not hidden from the Shinobu ninjas who were monitoring the border. Shinobu has established many strongholds on the border of the Land of Fire, and each stronghold is guarded by 1 or 2 teams of ninjas. It is common sense for every ninja village to place perceptive ninjas in the border monitoring team. Too presumptuous. After reading the contents of the scroll, Tsunade angrily scolded, "Hinata and the others dare to enter the Land of Rice to investigate Shinobu village. Do they want to die?" Gunma, who was lying on the hospital bed, suddenly sat up and exclaimed, "Investigate Shinobu village?" Orochimaru is a fierce character that even the Umbu don't dare to make a move on, and they are just a few genin. Hashirama was also a little worried and said anxiously, "Tsunade-sama, please send someone to chase them back immediately. Otherwise, once they encounter Orochimaru, I'm afraid the consequences will be unimaginable." Tsunade calmed down a little and then shouted, "Jeanine, immediately call Jiraiya, Kakashi, Akai, and Asuma." "Yes." In Naruto's office, Tsunade's face was gloomy as he crossed his fingers on the table and said in a dignified tone, "The situation is probably like this. My original intention was to let them track to the border of the Land of Fire, but I didn't expect these few genin to be so bold as to go to the Land of Rice to investigate Orochimaru. Jiraiya, please be sure to bring them back to me in one piece." Although Hinata's group of 6 was only a few Chunin and genin, the identities of these 6 people were either heirs of a big family or Jinchuriki of the 9 Tails. The only civilian ninja was an ace ninja who inherited the Hashiman Tonku. If such a team had a problem, it would definitely be a loss that Shinobu couldn't afford. Asuma said with some disbelief, "I know Shikamaru's character. He shouldn't have been bewitched by Hinata, right?" Kakashi rolled his dead fish eyes and said, "Hinata's temper is even lazier than Shikamaru's. She would never do such a thing." Akai bared his teeth and said with a thumbs up, "This is youth." Kakashi, Asuma. With my disciple Shaoli here, your disciples won't get hurt. Jiraiya nodded slightly and said to Tsunade, "Leave them to us. You don't have to worry too much. With Hinata following, there won't be too much of a problem." Among the Shinobu, the one who knew Hinata's strength the best was Jiraiya. Although Jiraiya didn't want to admit it. But after all, he personally guided Hinata to cultivate Sage Mode. But if Hinata activated Sage Mode and borrowed the 9 Tails chakra from Naruto's body, Orochimaru wouldn't have been killed by her, right? So, this was a mission to save Hinata's group of 6, but in fact, it was to save Orochimaru? Tsunade had just arrived in Shinobu, so he didn't know much about everyone's strength. He only knew a little about Hinata's strength. At most, he knew from Jiraiya, Kakashi, and Naruto that Hinata's strength had probably reached Kakashi's level. But between Kakashi and Orochimaru, the gap was huge. Even if Orochimaru's hands were sealed, Kakashi might not be his opponent. Tsunade said in a deep voice, "Jiraiya, don't be too optimistic. Orochimaru is a strong person that even the Dark Group doesn't dare to attack." Hinata and the others, "Cut the crap, set off immediately." In the land of rice, Hinata felt that he was really unlucky recently. Looking at the ninja who was tied to a tree and wearing the Shinobu village headband on his head, Hinata could only look up to the sky and sigh, "God didn't help me." Tough, the ninja who he met at the Chunin exam. Toth's two teammates were sacrificed by Orochimaru, and he used Edo Tensei to summon Hashirama and Tobirama. So Toth took advantage of the time when Orochimaru left Shinobu village and defected from the village and became a glorious defector ninja. The scratch on his forehead was proof of that. Chapter 134. What should we do? Naruto looked at Toth, who was tied to a tree, and felt that he didn't know where to start. Looking at Hinata for help, Naruto scratched his head and said, "Hinata, what are we going to do next? After all, a person like me is not suitable for preaching." Hinata's eyes were a bit strange. "Naruto, are you serious?" Hinata looked at Shaoli again, and Shaoli also looked at Hinata blankly. Sigh. None of the two men he had brought with him were suitable for interrogation at all. Shinobu's teaching quality is really bad. Hinata hesitated for a moment and said tentatively, "How about, we try to beat him again?" Toth, who was beaten black and blue, was anxious when he heard this. He struggled and shouted, "What do you want to know? If it's revenge for the Chunin exam, then I admit defeat." Hinata wondered, "Huh? What did you do during the Chunin exam?" Toth roared, "That's not the point. What do you want to ask?" Naruto looked at Toth and asked in a deep voice, "Where is Sasuke? Where did Orochimaru take Sasuke?" Toth was overjoyed when he heard this and quickly said, "Sasuke was taken to Shinobu village by Orochimaru." Hinata asked, "Where is Shinobu village?" Toth struggled with the steel wire on his body, looked at Hinata, and said tentatively, "As long as you let me go, I will tell you the location of Shinobu village." Naruto. Got it. Ding, 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 ding. Hinata looked at Toros, who had been beaten to a pulp, and sighed softly. "Why do you have to do this? As long as you tell us the location of Shinobu village, we won't make things difficult for you." "Let you go first? Do you think we're stupid? You have to be clear about your priorities." Torres was in tears. "Why didn't you say so earlier? If you walk north from here, there will be a valley about 50 li away. That is where Shinobu village is located. Orochimaru is very cunning. He built Shinobu village underground. From the outside, there doesn't seem to be any flaws. Even if someone enters the valley by mistake, they won't find anything." Hinata and the other two looked at each other. Xiao Li's face was full of disbelief. He took out a small notebook and flipped through a few pages. Then, he said solemnly, "This person is Orochimaru's subordinate. He might give us false information to deceive us." Naruto was stunned. "Is that so?" As soon as he finished speaking, Naruto looked at Toshi with red eyes and said angrily, "How dare you lie to us?" Torres struggled frantically and shouted, "I am a traitor. Look at my forehead protector. I have betrayed Orochimaru. I am a traitor of Shinobu village." Hinata was a little helpless. These two are really stupid teammates. Since we already know the location of Shinobu village, let's go back and meet up with Shikamaru and the others. Then, we will discuss the next battle plan together. Okay. That's right. Bring Torres with us. We will ask him about Shinobu village later. Back in the town. Naruto and Shaoli stayed behind to guard Torres. They didn't enter the town with Hinata. Hinata activated Byakugan and found Shikamaru, Choji, and Ya. He brought them to meet up with Naruto and Xiao Li. Ye was dirty and had a bruise on his face. As soon as he saw Torres, he complained, "You guys are really lucky. If I knew this, I wouldn't have pretended to be a wandering orphan." Naruto was surprised. "Yeah, what happened to your face?" Shikamaru and Choji laughed. Choji explained, "You wanted to sneak into the Yakuza." His attitude was particularly arrogant. He was taught a lesson by the Yakuza's boss. Xiao Li's eyes were burning. He said excitedly, "I didn't expect the Yakuza's boss to be so powerful. Even you wasn't his opponent." You roared, "Powerful your ass." "I didn't fight back because I wanted to get information." Shikamaru stopped everyone's jokes. He turned to Hinata and asked, "Did you get any information?" Hinata nodded. He pointed to Torres and said, "He has already told us the specific location of Shinobu Village. But he didn't say anything about the strength of the Shinobu Village. I'm going to let you guys listen to it together so that he won't have to say it again." Ye curled his lips and said arrogantly, "This guy hasn't told us anything yet? Leave it to me. I'm the best at torture. I just learned it." Woof, woof. Torres went crazy on the spot when he heard this. He glared at Ye and roared, "Look at me clearly. I'm a traitor. I've betrayed Orochimaru. I'll tell you everything." Ye was a bit embarrassed. "Is that so?" Torres complained, "What's wrong with you Shinobu ninjas? Are you blind?" "Huh?" 6 murderous eyes instantly looked at Torres. 10 minutes later, Hinata kicked Torres, who was lying on the ground pretending to be a corpse, and said lightly, "Tell us, what's the situation in Shinobu Village now?" Torres was lying on the ground with his arms and legs spread out. His eyes were empty, and there was no trace of life in them. When he heard Hinata's question, Torres replied mechanically, "The strongest in Shinobu Village are Orochimaru and Kimimaro. Apothecary's Pocket is Orochimaru's most capable assistant. In addition to these 3, there are also Shinobu's group of 4. You've already met them before. In addition, most of the remaining people in Shinobu Village are like me. Originally, there were some powerful guys, but after the last attack on Shinobu, almost all of them died." Shikamaru analyzed, "Even a person like Torres was given an important task by Orochimaru to participate in the joint Chunin exam. It seems that there are no other strong people in Shinobu Village except for those few people." Torres continued, "In the eyes of Orochimaru, we are just insignificant cannon fodder. He can have as many as he wants, and he doesn't care about our life and death." When he participated in the Chunin exam, Torres had already seen Orochimaru's cold and ruthless character. Especially after the failure of the qualifiers, Torres and the other 2 no longer had any value to Orochimaru. It's just that Torres was lucky and wasn't chosen by Orochimaru as a sacrifice for the Edo Tensei. Hinata continued to ask, "Does Orochimaru only have these few subordinates?" Torres replied, "Orochimaru has many secret bases, but those are not something I can know. However, it is said that Orochimaru has imprisoned a lot of people in these bases, and he also left his subordinates to guard them." Hinata nodded slightly, looked at Shikamaru and said, "It seems that Shinobu Village is not to be feared at all." Shikamaru agreed, "If Orochimaru can't make hand seals, we do have a great chance. Of course, the premise of all this is..." Having said that, Shikamaru turned his head and looked at Naruto. The meaning was self-evident. Without Naruto's strength, they can't do anything with just a few Chunin and Genin. Naruto couldn't wait and said, "Since we already know the information about Orochimaru, let's go." Choji looked at Torres, his opponent in the qualifiers, and said with some reluctance, "What about this person? Do you want to kill him?" Torres's whole body was in a bad state. "Didn't you say that as long as I give you the information about Shinobu Village, you will let me go?" Choji waved his hand again and said with a panicked tone, "I didn't mean that." Torres looked at Choji with a trace of despair in his eyes. "You didn't mean that? You mean you don't want me to leave?" Chapter 135. Shikamaru stood in front of Choji and said in a deep voice, "We don't mean to embarrass you, but we can't fully believe the information you said." Shikamaru knew Choji very well. He knew that Choji had good intentions. Choji didn't want to kill Toth. Toth said, "Everything I said is true." Shikamaru looked at Hinata. Hinata nodded slightly. Shikamaru said, "In that case, please take us to Shinobu Village. As long as we find Shinobu Village, we will let you go, right? Can you make the decision for that fat pig?" Toth obviously didn't believe it. During the Chunin exam, he and Choji had a grudge. Fat pig. Choji, who was stimulated by the word fat pig, wanted to kill Toth on the spot. Toth was a little scared, but he obviously didn't believe Shikamaru's words. "Look at it yourself, this fat pig wants to kill me now." Hinata looked at Toth fiercely and threatened, "If you don't take us there, we will kill you now." Toth. With Toth leading the way, Hinata's group of 6 easily found the location of Shinobu Village. Byakugan. Hinata roughly investigated the situation of Shinobu Village, then turned to Shikamaru and said, "This is indeed Shinobu Village, Orochimaru is inside, and so is Sasuke." Toth looked in the direction of Shinobu Village and said with some fear, "Hey! I said, can I go now? I am a rebellious ninja of Shinobu Village. Orochimaru will not let me go." Hinata waved her hand impatiently and said lightly, "Well, that's right. I mean what I say, you can go now." When Toth walked away, Shikamaru looked at Hinata and asked, "Hinata, can you communicate with Nine Tails now?" "I will try." Byakugan, open. Hinata opened the Byakugan and condensed a large amount of chakra in his eyes. His eyes penetrated the seal in Naruto's body and reached Nine Tails. In the dark sewer, Hinata condensed her figure through her dojutsu. "Hey! Little fox, I came to play with you again?" Hinata waved at Nine Tails enthusiastically. Kyubi opened one of his eyes and glared at Hinata, his tone cold. "It's you again? What are you doing here?" A gentle smile appeared on Hinata's small face, and she said flatteringly, "Well, how should I put it? I just want to borrow some power from you. We've encountered a very powerful opponent, and if you don't help us, we're likely to be killed by him." Nine Tails said disdainfully, "What does that have to do with this old man?" Hinata approached the iron cage and said in a frivolous tone, "You're naughty little fox. If you don't help us, I won't help you in the future." Nine Tails sneered. "Do you think this old man needs your help?" Observing Nine Tails at a close distance, this guy's face was really ferocious and his eyes were full of evil. Hinata patted his chest and proudly said, "Little fox, have you heard of the surname Otsutsuki? Let me introduce myself. My name is Otsutsuki Hinata." Nine Tails's aura slightly changed upon hearing this. Although he didn't have the memories of being a Jubi, he knew the surname of Six Path Sennin. "Humph." Nine Tails sneered and said, "The descendants of Six Path Sennin are Senju and Uchiha. What does that have to do with you Hyuga?" Hinata said truthfully, "Our Hyuga clan is inherited from the younger brother of Six Path Sennin, Otsutsuki Hagoromo and Otsutsuki Hamura. Have you heard of them?" Seeing Nine Tails didn't speak, Hinata continued to fool him, "Little fox, I'm telling you, there are people in the shinobi world who want to resurrect the Jubi. You're actually in danger. If you're sucked back into the Gedo Mazo, you'll lose your sense of self." "Of course. I'm on your side, and your Jinchuriki is my good friend, so you can trust me." Although Nine Tails found it hard to believe all this, there were too many key words in Hinata's words. For example, the Jubi and the Gedo Mazo. If Hinata didn't know anything, he wouldn't have said these two names. Nine Tails stood up and looked down at Hinata, and said coldly, "Little girl, how do you know this?" "Me?" Hinata said, "That's because I've seen my ancestor, Otsutsuki Hamura, the younger brother of Six Path Sennin, and he entrusted me with the burden of saving the shinobi world." "Yes." "My ancestor also said, didn't Six Path Sennin tell you that in the future, there will be a young man who will play with the bijou?" "Yes, that person is me." Nine Tails didn't believe it, but Hinata did know a lot of secrets from thousands of years ago. Nine-Tails was silent for a moment, and asked, "What are you going to do?" Hinata was overjoyed, but her face was serious as she said, "I need your strength now, just like the last time when we fought Shikaku." "Yes. I also know your name. Isn't it Kurama?" "Well." Hinata thought for a moment, and continued, "Of course, if it's convenient for you, it's best to control Naruto's body first, but don't hurt Naruto. Because in the future, we will have to protect you together. If you are sucked into the Gedo Mazo, the shinobi world will be finished." Nine-Tails was silent for a moment, and said coldly, "Yes. Nine-Tails can control his chakra, and if he wants to hurt Naruto, his chakra will burn Naruto's flesh and blood, and then restore him to his original state. Although Naruto won't die, it will consume a lot of vitality. But if Nine-Tails can control it well, Naruto won't be in any danger." Nine-Tails continued, "The seal left by the fourth generation is still very stable, and this old man can't exert all of his strength yet. Also, if you want this old man to go out and help you, it's best to make that kid Naruto lose consciousness first." Hinata wondered, "Why is that?" "Because we don't trust each other." Nine-Tails explained, "If we can't trust each other, his chakra will reject this old man's power." Hinata nodded slightly, and he understood. Chakra is the combination of spiritual energy and physical energy, and it has its own will. Rikudo Sennin created shinobi, and he hoped that people can understand each other through chakra, and it wasn't just nonsense. As long as everyone trusts each other, they can understand each other's thoughts through chakra. In the original work, Naruto and Nine-Tails established trust after punching each other. Through each other's chakra, they understood each other's truest thoughts. Thinking of this, Hinata stretched out his small hand and clenched it into a fist, and said to Nine-Tails, "Kurama, we're comrades in arms from now on." Nine-Tails was stunned. After a long while, Nine-Tails stretched out his fist from the cage and bumped it with Hinata's. With just a touch, Nine-Tails suddenly looked at Hinata in shock. To be honest, Hinata really liked Kurama, this proud little fox. Through the fist bump, Hinata and Nine-Tails let go of their minds and let each other's chakra blend with each other, understanding each other's thoughts. Nine-Tails still didn't trust Hinata, and even guarded against him. But Hinata really liked Nine-Tails. Chapter 136. Nine-Tails looked down at Hinata, who was the size of a bean, and smiled proudly. "Humph." Hinata's eyes curved as he smiled gently and teased, "Little fox, you're naughty." Nine-Tails lay back down and looked at Hinata with a complicated gaze. Then, he closed his eyes and stopped talking. Nine-Tails, who had been alone for too long, was not used to interacting with others. At the same time, he could not stand other people's enthusiasm and love. Hinata looked at Nine-Tails and said, "Little fox, I'll go back first. You must help us." Nine-Tails snorted, "Get lost." Phew, retracting his vision, Hinata closed his Byakugan and smiled at everyone. "It's settled. Nine-Tails agreed to lend his power to us. He's even prepared to come out and fight for us." But Shikamaru was puzzled. "But what?" Hinata looked at Naruto and said softly, "But Nine-Tails needs Naruto to lose consciousness before he can come out. He and Nine-Tails are somewhat repulsed. But Nine-Tails has promised me that he won't hurt Naruto." Shikamaru frowned. Nine-Tails is the demon that almost destroyed Shinobu 12 years ago. Can his words be trusted? Hinata nodded heavily. Nine-Tails is actually very obedient. He attacked Shinobu because he was controlled. Besides, Nine-Tails was originally quite free. It was Shinobu who captured him and imprisoned him in a seal. Nine-Tails can't be blamed for attacking Shinobu. Humph. It's all Naruto's fault. Hinata looked at Naruto and asked seriously, "Naruto, what are you going to do?" Naruto's gaze was a little complicated as he lowered his head slightly. This was the first time he heard Hinata's theory. In the eyes of Konoha's ninjas, the Kyuubi is a demon. 12 years ago, Nine Tails attacked Shinobu. Shinobu suffered heavy casualties. Fourth Naruto also died because he sealed Nine Tails. But for Nine Tails, it was indeed Shinobu's people who captured him and made him lose his freedom. Naruto turned to look at Hinata and asked, "Hinata, you mean? First Naruto caught Nine Tails?" "Yes." Hinata nodded slightly and said, "Now is not the time to talk about this. If you want to hear it, I'll tell you later." Naruto touched his stomach and said in a low voice, "If Nine Tails is not willing to help me, then I'll just be a burden to everyone." Naruto still had some idea in his heart. Hinata was so powerful, yet he wanted to borrow the power of Nine Tails. He knew that the enemy this time must be no small matter. Naruto's eyes were gloomy as he said in a somewhat lost tone, "Nine Tails, then I'll leave everything to you. You must save Sasuke." With that, Naruto looked at Hinata and said seriously, "Come on." "Okay." After knocking out Naruto with a punch, Hinata pressed his hand on Naruto's stomach and used his chakra to communicate with Nine Tails through the loophole of the Bagua seal. Naruto had the bloodline of the Uzumaki clan, so his chakra was extremely large. But usually, most of Naruto's chakra was used to suppress Nine Tails. Especially after the Bagua seal loosened, Nine Tails' interference with Naruto was actually very serious. Even if Naruto was unconscious, his chakra had been consciously suppressing Nine Tails. However, Naruto had relaxed his mind at this moment. Since Hinata chose to believe in Nine Tails, then Naruto was also willing to believe in Nine Tails. Red chakra bubbles slowly emerged from Naruto's body. In just a breath, Naruto's whole body was shrouded in Nine Tails chakra. Naruto slowly got up and opened his eyes to look at Hinata. It was the eyes of Nine Tails, crimson, full of tyranny and evil. Hinata greeted warmly, "Hey, little fox, you're out?" Nine Tails' voice was full of majesty. "Little girl, where is the enemy?" Shikamaru and the others unconsciously took a few steps back. They grew up listening to the legends of Nine Tails. Now that they saw Nine Tails for the first time, they couldn't help but feel a little afraid. Hinata pointed in the direction of Shinobu village and said in an extremely arrogant tone, "Little fox, the enemy is underground. Should we first use the Bijou Jade to greet them?" "Oh right, little fox. Lend us your power first." After saying that, Hinata and the others held hands, and Nine Tails also passed chakra over. "Okay." Nine Tails answered without thinking. While Hinata was puzzled, Nine Tails controlled Naruto's body to lie on the ground, looked up at the sky, and opened his mouth slightly. The blue and red chakra began to converge, and the Bijou Jade was completed in the blink of an eye. Hinata was stunned. "I was just joking. You don't have to be so serious, right? You'll kill Sasuke too." Wait. Before Hinata could stop Nine Tails had already sent out a Bijou Jade, and the target was Shinobu village. Rumble. Even if it wasn't Nine Tails' full power, Hinata felt that the Bijou Jade was enough to flatten the entire Shinobu village. No ninja could survive under such power. The group of roaches was stunned by the scene in front of them. Shikamaru murmured, "Is this the strength of Nine Tails? The fourth daimyo was fighting against such an enemy?" Nine Tails heard this and said with disdain, "Fourth daimyo? Hey, if it weren't for that woman Kushina, do you think your fourth daimyo can seal this old man?" After that, Nine Tails ignored Shikamaru and the others and said to Hinata, "There are still people alive on the other side, let's rush in." Hinata also activated Byakugan. In Shinobu village, only Orochimaru, Apothecary's Pocket, Kimimaro, and Sasuke were still alive. As for the others, even Shinobu's group was killed by Nine Tails. Seeing that Sasuke was fine, Hinata was a little relieved. However, he still had to change his arrogance in the future. Orochimaru supported Sasuke and walked out of the smoke of the explosion with Apothecary's Pocket and Kimimaro, glancing gloomily at Hinata and the others. "It's you." Hinata pointed at Orochimaru and said arrogantly, "Orochimaru, Hand over Sasuke if you know what's good for you, otherwise, next year today will be your death anniversary. Orochimaru was seriously injured. He just protected Sasuke and was seriously injured by the aftermath of the Bijudama. Apothecary's pocket was even worse. If it weren't for his special physique and his proficiency in medical ninjutsu, he would have already died at this moment. On the other hand, Kimimaro was only a little embarrassed at the moment with the protection of bones. After all, Shinobu Village was built underground. The explosion of the Bijudama on the ground didn't cause much damage to the underground. Orochimaru turned his eyes to Naruto and said coldly, "Nine Tails Jinchuriki?" Hinata sneered, "No. This is Nine Tails himself." After that, Hinata waved his small hand and said, "Little ones, I'll leave the one with glasses and the one with bones to you. Little Fox, let's deal with Orochimaru together." Nine Tails said in a deep voice, "Okay." Hinata looked at Orochimaru and shouted, "Let's go." Chapter 137. Take. Orochimaru yelled and threw the unconscious Sasuke to Apothecary's pocket and signaled Apothecary's pocket to take Sasuke away first. Apothecary's pocket didn't have a curse seal, and he was seriously injured by the Bijudama explosion. Even if he has a special physique, he has no combat power now. Ouch. Orochimaru opened his mouth and stretched out two hands from his mouth, opening his mouth wide, and a wet Orochimaru came out of his mouth. Orochimaru's substitution technique is like stinky tofu, it smells bad, but it tastes delicious. Although this technique looks disgusting, the effect is first class. At this time, Orochimaru has recovered from all injuries. Hinata condensed Chakra Fist, thought about it, and integrated natural energy into Chakra Fist, but he didn't enter Sage mode. Orochimaru is also one of the Sannin, and he can barely be regarded as a strong opponent. On the other side, Apothecary's pocket took Sasuke and quickly fled. Shikamaru shouted, "Stop him!" At the same time, Shikamaru squatted and quickly formed hand seals, and the shadow under his feet stretched towards Kimimaro at a very fast speed. Kimimaro's eyes narrowed, and he jumped back several times to avoid the shadow, but his body always blocked the path of Apothecary's pocket. Choji and Shikamaru cooperated very well, and they slightly moved their bodies in front of Shikamaru to prevent the enemy from taking the opportunity to attack Shikamaru. Seeing Kiba and Shaoli were about to rush up, Kimimaro raised his hand. Shikatsumiyaku, 10 finger-piercing bullets. The finger bones shot towards Shikamaru like bullets. In the ninja war, a support-type ninja like Shikamaru, who doesn't seem to have any attack power, is the second target to be killed in addition to medical ninja. Shikamaru roared, "Ding-ji, quickly dodge." This kind of attack was not something Ding-ji could block. Shaoli and Kiba wanted to go past Kimimaro to chase after Sasuke, but they were stopped by Kimimaro, and the three suddenly fought. As for the battle on Hinata's side, it was much more tragic than Kimimaro's side. Although Naruto was not as powerful as he would be 3 years later, the one controlling Naruto's body was the 1,000-year-old monster, Nine Tails. Boom! Nine Tails was so fast that it was almost impossible to catch sight of it. Hinata only saw a flash of red light before Orochimaru was blasted into the ruins of Shinobu Village by Nine Tails. Even the aftermath of Orochimaru's fall left a long mark on the ground. Hinata still remembered that Jiraiya was the closest to death twice in the original manga. The first time was when he peeked at Tsunade taking a bath in the hot spring. Tsunade broke 6 of his ribs, fractured both of his arms, and ruptured his internal organs in several places. The second time was when he was seriously injured by Naruto in his Yonbi form. Hinata glanced at Nine Tails. 5 tails already. Hinata looked at the ruins. Orochimaru was almost beaten beyond recognition. He could barely open his mouth and spit out a new Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked coldly at Nine Tails and Hinata. After using Orochimaru's substitution technique twice in a row, he had consumed a lot of chakra. Moreover, Orochimaru's body had just been changed. His soul had not fully adapted yet, and there was still some slight rejection of the body. Orochimaru could not even display 70% of his full strength at this time. Hinata was just about to rush up and fight Orochimaru head-on when a huge wave of chakra blew over. Hinata could only raise his hand to block it. In Byakugan's vision, Nine Tails condensed another Baijidama. Just now, Kyubi waved his hand and pushed Hinata away. It was a rare opportunity for Nine Tails to come out, and Nine Tails decided to let the world remember Nine Tails' powerful strength. Art is Baijidama. Roar, oh, 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 oh. The powerful shockwave made Hinata unable to stand still, and even Kimamaru's battle was affected. All of them turned their attention to Nine Tails. Orochimaru had a dignified look in his eyes. He had already seen the might of a Baijidama. That thing was extremely dangerous. Even if Orochimaru was a near-immortal existence, once he was hit head-on, there was absolutely no possibility of survival. The chakra density of Baijidama was too high. Orochimaru quickly bit his fingers. Ninjutsu, Triple Rashomon. Rumble. The aftermath of the huge explosion sent Hinata, Kimamaru, and others flying upside down in an instant. No matter how powerful Hinata was, he still felt a lingering fear in the face of such an inhuman attack. The nine-tailed beast was too powerful. Baijidama in the manga looked very weak, but in fact, Baijidama was extremely destructive. It was a highly compressed chakra ball, and the power of the explosion could vaporize people in an instant. Even if Orochimaru had an immortal body, once all the cells in his body were vaporized, there was no possibility of survival. Hinata saw it clearly. Although the Triple Rashomon was completely broken, it still blocked some of the power of the Baijidama explosion. Orochimaru was still alive, and he could use ninjutsu. Hinata had to admit that Orochimaru was terrifying. After changing his body, Orochimaru could use some ninjutsu. Even if he couldn't return to his peak state, once Orochimaru's soul and body no longer rejected each other, he could at least recover 80% to 90% of his strength. But it didn't matter. The important thing was Orochimaru's Edo Tensei. The Edo Tensei was the real danger. Orochimaru was lying on the ground and suddenly opened his mouth. Small snakes crawled out of Orochimaru's mouth, and in a blink of an eye, they formed a sea of snakes and rushed toward Nine Tails like a wave. Nine Tails raised his hands and then slammed them on the ground. Rumble! The violent shockwave spread in all directions. With just a wave of his hand, the chakra shockwave directly broke Orochimaru's 10,000 snake formation. Hinata felt that there was no room for him to intervene. It's not that Orochimaru was too strong, but Nine Tails' attack range was too large. At this moment, if he rushed up, he was afraid that before he could fight with Orochimaru, Hinata would die under Nine Tails' attack. Hinata took a look at the battle on Kimamaru's side. Shikamaru, Choji, Xiao Li, and Kiba cooperated very well, and with Nine Tails' chakra protecting them, they could still hold on for a while. But Kimamaru had already activated the first seal. Even if Shikamaru and the other three joined forces, they were still forced into a disadvantage by Kimamaru. Hinata shouted at Nine Tails, "Little fox, I'll leave Orochimaru to you, I'll go fight the one playing with bones." Roar! Leave it to this old man. Nine Tails seemed a little excited. Hinata nodded slightly and rushed toward Kimamaru. Once Kimamaru entered the second seal state, it would be difficult for Shikamaru and the others to deal with him. Hinata looked back at the Battle of Nine Tails again. The chakra shockwave that Nine Tails just burst out was actually very similar to some of the moves of the Hyuga family. Both of them directly burst out with chakra condensed to the extreme to attack the opponent. It's just that Nine Tails' chakra is too large, and the density and quality are very high, far beyond ordinary ninjas. Because of this, Nine Tails' moves are very powerful. But in essence, Nine Tails' moves are not much different from the moves of the Hyuga family. Nine Tails is an old fox that has lived for thousands of years. Hinata wondered if he could learn some chakra techniques from Nine Tails to perfect his unique skills. Chapter 138. In the battle, Hinata obviously didn't allow him to think too much. Kimamaru was a close combat ninja. In the curse seal state, his whole body was covered with curse seal patterns. His speed was extremely fast, and his flexibility and attack power were extremely strong. Even its defensive capabilities seemed to be perfect. Kimamaro's whole body was covered with bone spikes, so Kiba and Shaoli couldn't do anything at all. They could only keep fighting with Kimamaro. Choji was already scarred, which was obviously caused by protecting Shikamaru. Shikamaru's shadow technique didn't work. The power of the curse seal was actually natural energy. Kimamaro, who was in the curse seal state, even his perception was extremely strong. However, Shikamaru's shadow technique also played a role in harassing Kimamaro so that he couldn't concentrate on dealing with Kiba and Shaoli. Otherwise, Kiba and Shaoli would have been defeated at this moment. "How's your side?" Hinata stood beside Shikamaru and didn't rush to make a move. Shikamaru turned his head and glanced at the battlefield between Ninetales and Orochimaru, and couldn't help but complain, "It's really God's blessing that I survived 12 years ago. The opponent on my side is also extremely difficult to deal with." Having said that, Shikamaru's eyes were a little dim. This time, if it weren't for Ninetales' help, we might have all died here. Hinata shrugged and smiled casually, "That doesn't include me." To be honest, Shikamaru regretted his impulse at this moment. This time, if it weren't for Ninetales' help, with the strength of the 6 of them, I'm afraid that except for Hinata and Naruto, no one would be able to return to Shinobu alive. It's okay for young people to be hot-blooded, as long as they can learn from their mistakes, they will grow up. Hinata patted Shikamaru's shoulder and comforted him, "If you regret it, treat me to a big meal when we go back." "I'm going." As soon as the words fell, Hinata suddenly accelerated, aimed at the gap, and hit Kimamaro with an empty palm. Boom! With the support of the 9 tails and the immortal technique, Hinata's attack power was unbelievably strong. Kimamaro was sent flying almost in an instant and dragged on the ground for more than 50 meters before stopping. Cough cough. Wiping the blood from the corner of his mouth, Kimamaro slowly turned around and looked at Hinata blankly. "Hinata, Hinata?" Hinata was stunned. It's me. Has my name already spread to Shinobu Village?" In fact, Hinata is already famous in the entire ninja world at this moment. Not to mention other things, just the identity of the heir of the Hyuga main family is enough to attract the attention of the major ninja villages. Moreover, after Hinata graduated, he first killed the mist ninja Zabuza and captured the Ichibi Jinchuriki of the Sand Village. His record is also fierce. On the desk of the Kage of the major ninja villages, Hinata's information has already been placed on Hinata's desk. However, the battle between Hinata and Jiraiya against Orochimaru was not spread in the ninja world. If this battle is also exposed, Hinata will simply step on the faces of Orochimaru, 3 generations Naruto, and Yondaime Kozakage. He will become the strongest person in the ninja world. However, Kimamaro didn't know Hinata because of Hinata's achievements. Hinata is the person who destroyed Orochimaru's plan many times, and Orochimaru often thinks about Hinata. As a crazy admirer of Orochimaru, Kimamaro believes that it is necessary for him to eradicate all enemies of Orochimaru. The curse seals surged all over his body. In an instant, Kimamaro's whole body turned dark brown, and his silver-white hair also dimmed. "Curse seal 2. Kiba curled his lips and said with some disbelief, "This guy didn't use his full strength when he fought with us before?" Hinata waved his hand and said lightly, "Leave it to me. No one knows Kimamaro's state better than Hinata, who has the Byakugan. If he doesn't fight, Kimamaro's body should be able to last for a few months with the help of medicine. But once he enters the second state, he can only fight for a few minutes." The erosion of natural energy on his body made the medicine made by Apothecary's Pocket unable to continue to suppress his Kekii Genkai disease. He can't hold on any longer. Shaoli looked at Kimamaro with dignified eyes and said to Hinata, "That guy uses bones to attack his opponent. He can pull out bones from any part of his body and let them grow out of his body. In short, he can control the bones as he pleases." Although this is already known information, Hinata still thanked him. Kimamaro didn't have time to waste. His eyes stared at Hinata, and bone spurs emerged from his body. His body instantly turned into an afterimage and rushed towards Hinata at a very fast speed. Hinata also waved the Sage Jutsu Chakra and rushed up. In just a moment, Hinata and Kimimaro exchanged more than a dozen moves. With the Sage Jutsu Chakra protecting his fist, Hinata didn't fear Kimimaro's bone spurs like Kiba and Shaoli. In a normal state, Hinata and Kimimaro's strength should be about the same. If expressed by ninja data, the sum of the 8 attributes of both of them is more than 60 points, and their physical strength is the maximum of 10 points. Kimimaro has the second chakra, and Hinata also has the 9 tails and Sage Jutsu. But judging from the energy level, Hinata is actually better than Kimimaro. It's just that Kimimaro's combat experience is far beyond Hinata's, and at this moment, he is fighting with Hinata with the will to die. After just a dozen moves, Hinata was forced into a disadvantage by Kimimaro. The gentle fist of the Naruto world is not like Taiji. Instead, it is like internal force in martial arts novels, which can directly injure the enemy. And Hinata's fighting style is actually somewhat different from Hyogo's. After all, Hyogo doesn't have a move like 40 God's air attack. Hinata waved his chakra fist, which is actually a combination of soft fist and steel fist. With a punch, the enemy will suffer serious internal injuries while breaking bones and tendons. When physical strength reaches a certain level, there is almost no difference between the so-called steel fist and soft fist. Tsunade's strange fist can also injure people internally. And moves like Evening Elephant, Night Triumph, and 80 God's air attack are nothing more than attacking the opponent with powerful energy, not the difference between steel fist and soft fist. Hinata thought of Nine Tails' previous move again. The same chakra compression and explosion, but the power is much stronger than his. Faintly, Hinata seemed to understand something. Hinata was also a little excited, and it's rare that he didn't directly crush the opponent with King Bomb. Just as Jiraiya said, what Hinata lacks the most now is combat experience. An evenly matched taijutsu powerhouse is simply the opponent that Hinata desires the most. After all, even a salted fish will have a chance to turn over. Hinata will occasionally work a little harder. Bang bang bang. Kimimaro's physical characteristics are actually similar to Hinata's. His movements are extremely flexible, and his moves are unpredictable. It's just that Kimimaro's attacks are faster and fiercer than Hinata's, and each move is aimed at Hinata's vital points. And Hinata has chakra to protect his fist, and he also met Kimimaro's moves one after another. Shikatsumiyaku, 10 finger-piercing bullets. Kimimaro quickly jumped back, widening the distance between him and Hinata, and pointed his 10 fingers in Hinata's direction. Revolving Heaven. Hinata took back chakra, and then quickly erupted from all the acupuncture points in his body. The rotating chakra ball bounced off Kimimaro's finger bones in an instant. Kimimaro's whole body was covered with bone spurs, and he rushed toward Hinata again. Shikatsumiyaku, Tangsong Dance. Revolving Heaven. Hinata spun again. Although there is no natural energy, Nine Tails' chakra is enough to block Kimimaro. Bzzz. Hinata and Kimimaro were like two gyroscopes, spinning and colliding with each other, and the harsh friction sound was constantly heard. Chapter 139. Somewhere in the Land of Rice. Parker's nose twitched. He raised his head and said to Kakashi and the other three, "The smell is already very faint here. It seems that they have been gone for a long time." Jiraiya's expression was solemn as he asked in a deep voice, "Which direction did they go?" Parker raised his paw and pointed in a direction. He said calmly, "That way." Jiraiya and Kakashi exchanged glances and said seriously, "That's the direction of Orochimaru's Shinobu village. These brats don't want their lives anymore." Jiraiya had been investigating Orochimaru for many years and had a lot of information about Orochimaru. The location of Shinobu village wasn't a secret to Jiraiya. It was just that Orochimaru had too many secret bases. It was very difficult for Jiraiya to track down Orochimaru's specific hiding place. Hearing Jiraiya's words, even someone as stubborn as Akai couldn't make any jokes. Shaoli. Akai really loved Shaoli as if he was his own son. At this moment, Akai already somewhat understood how his father felt when he opened the gate of death back then. If Shaoli really encountered Orochimaru, Akai subconsciously clenched his fists. Asuma said anxiously, "Lord Jiraiya, let's quickly chase after them." "Don't worry too much," Kakashi said in a deep voice. Although Hinata is usually a little lazy and unreliable, she's very calm at critical moments. Moreover, she also has Byakugan. Even if she encounters danger, she can avoid it in advance. "Don't worry, Asuma. They won't encounter Orochimaru." Jiraiya nodded slightly, acknowledging Kakashi's words. Jiraiya had traveled with Hinata to find Tsunade, and fought against Orochimaru together. He was very confident in Hinata. "Alright. Stop talking nonsense. Let's take action immediately and bring these bastards back to Shinobu." Swish, 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 swish. 4 people and 1 dog flashed through the forest at an extremely fast speed. The naked eye could only see a few afterimages of their figures moving at high speed. In front of him, a bright white light soared into the sky. Rumble. A huge explosion came from the front. It was far away, but the sound could be heard clearly. "Stop." Jiraiya, the 4 people, and the dog instantly landed on the ground. In just a short moment, the earth began to tremble slightly. Asuma looked into the distance with his mouth wide open. The cigarette fell to the ground, and he murmured in disbelief, "What the hell is going on over there?" Kakashi and Jiraiya vaguely had some guesses. Hinata and the others not only used the power of the 9 tails, but also directly released the 9 tails to launch a devastating attack on Shinobu Village. Kakashi's generation had seen the 9 tails before, and knew some of the moves of the 9 tails. On that night 12 years ago, the 9 tails used a black chakra ball, but Minato used Flying Thunder God to teleport it away. Although Shinobu didn't directly attack the Bijudama, many people felt the aftermath of the explosion. And at that time, the Bijudama attacked all the way to Naruto Rock, and Shinobu's houses and streets were almost destroyed in an instant. That's not a power that a ninja can resist. Asuma swallowed his saliva and said in disbelief, "Orochimaru shouldn't be dead." Jiraiya's eyes were somewhat complicated. From the standpoint of Shinobu ninja, Jiraiya should want Orochimaru to be killed. But from the standpoint of his companions, Jiraiya actually wanted to bring Orochimaru back to Shinobu Village. Just like in the past, the Sannin once again fought for Shinobu. Although all of this seemed to be impossible, Kakashi couldn't help but touch his forehead. This must be Hinata's doing. Kakashi dared to swear. In Kakashi's perception, Hinata was the kind of person who was usually very lazy, black-bellied, salted fish, unambitious, greedy, and unreliable. But in the face of danger, Hinata was very calm and decisive. But once Hinata found that he could defeat the opponent, Hinata's recklessness was more troublesome than Naruto's. Whether it was fighting Zabuza, Itachi, or Ghost Mackerel, Hinata used his big move and didn't give the opponent any chance to speak. In the past, Hinata could only use 40 God's air attack. But once Hinata can command 9 tails, then he can really bombard the opponent with Bijudama. Thinking of this, Kakashi quickly shouted, "Everyone! The explosion is coming again!" Everyone, just a moment of silence. In the distance, the white light once again soared into the sky, followed by a burst of explosion, and then the ground shook a few times. Kakashi understood and lightly said, "It seems that the explosion just now didn't kill Orochimaru." "Jiraiya, doesn't that mean that Orochimaru is dead this time?" Jiraiya shouted, "Let's go quickly." Asuma and Kakashi looked at each other. What's the use of going there now? Are they going to collect Orochimaru's corpse? But thinking about it carefully, Orochimaru has mastered so many forbidden techniques, it is indeed necessary to collect Orochimaru's corpse. The battle between 9 Tails and Orochimaru has come to an end. After all, Orochimaru was not the opponent of 9 Tails. After several attempts to attack, he was beaten by 9 Tails and had to flee. 9 Tails stood beside Shikamaru and the other 3 and did not intervene in the battle between Hinata and Kimimaro. Kimimaro glanced at the ruins of Shinobu village with complicated eyes. Orochimaru has run away. In fact, Kimimaro should know very well that he has been abandoned by Orochimaru. But he didn't want to believe this. He believed that Orochimaru understood him and believed that there must be a place for him in Orochimaru's heart. Kimimaro was lonely when he was a teenager. Orochimaru was the only light in his life and the only warmth in his life. Even if Orochimaru was deceiving him, if this was deceit, then let Orochimaru deceive him for a lifetime. Even if Orochimaru's lie has been exposed, Kimimaro would rather deceive himself than give up the only warmth in his life. Kimimaro pulled out his spine. Dance of the iron thread. Kimimaro waved his bone whip at Hinata, but Hinata was not my love. This level of attack was impossible to hit Hinata. Seeing that several attacks had failed, Kimimaro suddenly coughed up blood. There was no time. So flexible, as well as sharp insight. Kimimaro's voice was emotionless. But I'm not alone. In order to realize Orochimaru Sama's ambition, I have been working hard. So I will always stay in Orochimaru Sama's heart. Pucci, a bright white light instantly passed through Kimimaro's body. Hinata merged the 5 chakra rays of Mountain Break into one and separated Kimimaro's bones almost instantly. He didn't even have a chance to dodge. Hinata slowly retracted his hands. If you want to use a big move, then use a big move. Why are you talking nonsense? You see, if I do it first, you won't have a chance, right? Blabbering on and on before unleashing his ultimate move, he was truly courting death. Even if Hinata's combat experience was lacking, Hinata never asked for death. Chapter 140. Standing in the ruins, Hinata looked around blankly. Although the battle was not fierce and even a little easy, but this battlefield, was it really Shinobu Kiba's battlefield? Walking to Shikamaru and the others, Hinata smiled gently at Nine Tails and said with curved eyes, "Thank you, little fox." Nine Tails snorted and said disdainfully, "Little girl, this old man is older than your grandfather." "Yes, yes, yes." Hinata raised her hands in surrender and said with a smile, "Little fox, put away your chakra first." Nine Tails put away chakra without saying a word and looked at Hinata fiercely. He said in a dignified tone, "Little girl, since you said you are, then this old man will give you a gift." Chakra would not lie. Nine Tails felt Hinata's feelings for him through Hinata's chakra. It was a love from the bottom of his heart. Therefore, Nine Tails completely believed Hinata's nonsense now. After all, under normal circumstances, Shinobu's ninjas hated Nine Tails. There would never be a Shinobu's ninja who would love Nine Tails from the bottom of his heart. Unless this person really met the Sage of Six Paths, or was the younger brother of the Sage of Six Paths. He knew some truths about the ancient times. Nine Tails looked deeply at Hinata and did not say what the gift was. The red chakra on Naruto's body quickly faded and Naruto fell to the ground with a bang. Hinata was taken aback at first, and then she quickly thought of something. He, he. Shikamaru covered his face and said helplessly, "Hinata, what are you laughing at?" Hinata rolled his eyes at Shikamaru and snorted, "What do you know? Nine Tails gave me a very valuable gift. Who knows, I might become very powerful in the future." Fong asked curiously, "What did Nine Tails give?" Hinata snorted, "Too lazy to talk to Tetsuya. Can I tell you?" Although Hinata did not feel anything unusual in his body for the time being, it was obvious that Nine Tails had bestowed a part of its power to Hinata. Just a little bit, a very insignificant little bit. But this was a part of the 10 Tails. Hinata suddenly had an idea. Since she could fool the Kyubi, then she could fool the Ichibi, Nibi, Sanbai, and even the Hachibi. I am the child of prophecy, the boy who played with the tailed beasts in the mouth of the Rikudo Sennin. If I can collect the power of 9 tailed beasts, then I will have the God Tree Chakra. Hinata immediately adjusted his mentality. Yes, I am the child of prophecy, the hero who was entrusted by Rikudo Senin's younger brother to save the ninja world. Only by first fooling himself into believing it could he fool others into believing it as well. Hinata repeated this in his heart dozens of times, and finally convinced himself that he actually had a mission. And the kind of belief that I have. I must be the hero who saved the ninja world. I am the legendary child of prophecy. Shikamaru looked at the ruins of Shinobu village and said with some embarrassment, although I have always said that I want to collect information about Orochimaru, but Shinobu village has been turned into this. Now it is difficult to collect useful information, right? Hinata's attention was finally attracted by Shikamaru's words. It's really what I want. Hinata still remembered that in the original manga, the Hachibi's horn was cut off by the 3 generations Raikage in the battle with the 3 generations Raikage. Orochimaru took the opportunity to collect the Hachibi's cell samples and spent several years to clone a new Hachibi's horn. And mackerel muscle was once a small fish beside the Sanbai. If I use mackerel muscle, will I be able to obtain the Sanbai's power? Am I really possessed by the goddess of luck? Hinata was very excited at the moment. He was just given power by the 9 tails, and in the blink of an eye, he can pick up the Hachibi's horn, and before he got the item related to the Sanbai, he can gather the power of 3-tailed beasts at once. Dungeons are really rewarding. Choji stared blankly at Hinata, who was giggling to herself, and wondered, Boss, did something good happen to you? Hinata hurriedly said, Choji, hurry up and grow bigger, then move those stones away, I want to start collecting information. Hinata walked to Naruto's side, pushed Naruto, and called out softly, Naruto. Naruto. N? Naruto opened one eye and said in a daze, Hinata? Right. Where is Sasuke? Did you save Sasuke? Naruto looked at Hinata, as if he wanted to hear a positive answer from Hinata. Hinata's eyes were somewhat sad, and he shook his head slightly. Shikamaru explained, Naruto, I'm sorry. We did not save Sasuke. Naruto's mood suddenly fell. So that's how it is. Touching his stomach, Naruto secretly decided that he must have a good relationship with 9 tails. The next time I meet Orochimaru, I can't be a burden to him anymore. Hinata patted Naruto's shoulder and comforted, Naruto, don't be too disappointed. This time we defeated Orochimaru. If we meet him again, we will definitely be able to save Sasuke. What we need to do now is to collect as much information about Orochimaru as possible. Naruto, do you see the ruins over there? We must clean up the ruins. As long as we can get information about Orochimaru, we will definitely be able to defeat Orochimaru, and then rescue Sasuke. Naruto was instantly revived, and he roared, Okay, leave it to me. Multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto, Choji, and Shaoli all went to move the stones. Shikamaru walked to Hinata's side and said in a serious tone, Hinata, you can actually stop Sasuke, right? Hinata pretended to be stupid. What are you talking about? Shikamaru looked at Naruto and the other 3 who were busy, and slowly said, I know. Although Naruto, Sama did not declare Sasuke a traitor, but once Sasuke is brought back to the village, what will happen to him? Although my relationship with Sasuke is not very good, and he is not very sociable, but after all, we are partners in the same village. Hinata looked at Shikamaru and did not say anything. Shikamaru smiled bitterly and said, Actually, you don't have to be so defensive against me. When we return to the village, I can promise not to say anything. Hinata continued to look at Shikamaru. Shikamaru put his hands behind his head, curled his lips and said, So troublesome. Sometimes, it's easier to not know anything. Hinata said with a smile, Then you should learn from me. Even if you know, you can pretend that you don't know anything. Shikamaru did not say anything else and went forward to help Naruto and the others clean up the ruins. Shikamaru is actually a very responsible person. Hinata activated his Byakugan to look around for the Hachibi's horn. That thing. It seems that Orochimaru had placed it in a container. Although Shinobu village has been reduced to ruins, Hinata's Byakugan could still see the situation below the ruins. Hinata searched back and forth several times, but was unable to find the Hachibi's horn. Could it not be here? Hinata scratched his head gloomily. It would appear that this was the only harvest from the Shinobu Village instance dungeon. In the future, he will have to find another opportunity to enter the Orochi Maru Secret Base instance dungeon. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.